To celebrate 3 years on YouTube and as a push to reach 1,000 subscribers, I've got 2 giveaways. The first giveaway is a commemorative plate from Franklin Mint of John Wayne, the Duke. And the second giveaway is a figure of Bebop from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. To win any of these 2, just put in any of my videos, put a comment with either hashtag the Duke or hashtag Bebop. The draw will be done once I've reached 1,000 subscribers, so good luck, and remember, I'm not old, I'm classic. Hello boys and girls, lads and lassies, and welcome back to another Let's Talk Geeky with my colleagues Kelly Inch and Archer Colin. Hello guys.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Did you notice, instead, have you noticed that apparently YouTube are that desperate, they've now dropped the subscriber count for monetization to 500?
No, I
They
didn't.
did what?
Apparently, you now only need 500 subscribers to get partnership program. They've dropped the watch hours as well. I saw someone saying that on a different channel. I think it must look pretty know that. I think they've dropped the. I saw on someone else saying that because they were they're now over the. I think it was Arwen and Arlena.
No,
saying that
it says, how do I join the partnership? And it says, I've reached the 2 of the requirements, but the other one is 1,000 subscribers. And I'm
okay. That's okay. Okay, because I'm sure someone else was saying that it's now only that they've dropped that as well. But okay, fair enough. I mean, maybe it was someone else because they said partnership rather than monetization. I remember they were talking about it.
Yeah.
Because that's when you can start getting things like not only can you get super chats, you get custom emojis and that sort of thing as well. I think when you get to a certain point. Okay, fair enough. Maybe it was something else they were talking about.
Yeah, it could be, but then again, that would be interesting. But I need to actually get more metal detecting gear.
Well, there you go.
But it's just me. I'm terrible. You know me. I'm not very much of a collector. I just pick up things here and there.
Yeah, this is true.
No, not you.
Stuff, I got the macro simplex. I've got the macro pinpointer. I've got the macro premium digging tool. I basically went right all out, and instead of having this metal detector, that pinpointer, this digging tool, which I did, I just got the cheaper thing, and then now I'm actually bringing it all, so I've got all the same. For some reason, I can't sit with a Garrett pinpointer and a macro. I had to bring them all so they're all the same make model. I don't know what it is. It must be a collector thing in me. I just can't actually have different things that mix and match. I don't know where I get it from. Weird that. But
we have a new person here.
We do. We've got a couple of new people there. Well, we have got Moonman 4.
Yeah, we have several people here.
JWC Review. We have got our friends Miranda and Jim. We've got Mickey Susie 4. Right. Thank you for joining us.
Moonman 4.
There you go. So, welcome all the new ones. Hope you stick around. Bloody better. Yeah, I can't remember whether I was pointing up to the screen instead of the camera. It didn't really quite have the same impact. So, yeah. So, what's people been watching? I'm Hogan's Heroes again. I'm on season 1 again. A review. Not a review. A rewatch. For some reason, I just put it on as I'm doing some of my research for my metal detecting stuff, and that's just so much fun. You could just click, yay!
You know what I want to rewatch of is Get Smart.
Get Smart now. There you go with
God, I love that show. Don Adams, Barbara Feldon.
The name it always pops in for some reason. Well, I actually know the name it pops in for the reason it pops in. It's Don Johnson. Don't ask why. Well, I do know why. Recently, I know why it's been the one that's popped in every time I
That's
think
a
about
different
it.
story.
A completely different story. Yeah, I mean,
Get Smart Miami.
yes. So you need to stick around until we do the pick of the week.
Ooh.
Two fun things. They're completely out there. I couldn't resist getting them, even though I don't have anything else in my man cave that goes with any of it. They're just two individual things that I thought, oh, I'm having them. But that's how some of my stuff starts. I get something and think, oh, I like that. I'll get another one.
Yeah.
I'll get another one. I'll get another one. So I picked up a couple of bits and pieces. So yeah, but I've still the one thing I keep looking for, and you can buy memorabilia stuff from it. I want some Hogan's Heroes figures.
Mm-hmm.
I want a
Do they make them?
Say again.
Do they make them?
I don't think so. That's the problem. But somebody somewhere's going to do something for them. A wee Schultz bobblehead. I know nothing. I know nothing. You know what I mean?
Maybe because of the subject matter, I don't even remember seeing a lunchbox with them on it.
Probably not. But considering it's taking the
It's a
mickey out of them.
classic.
It's taking the mickey out of them. That's why.
Oh, agreed.
That's why the ones who were German were quite happy to play the fool because it was showing the regime that they escaped in a stupid light, and they were.
Yeah,
That's why they were happy.
Werner Klemperer said that he refused to allow Colonel Klink to ever win at anything. He always had to play, the fall guy.
Yeah, and yeah, John Banner as well. Basically,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
it was the same idea that he was quite happy to act the buffoon because he wanted them to look buffoonish.
Right, right,
And so it was never something that glorified anything.
right.
You know what I mean? And it was
Right, and you
just
get people now who say, "Oh, we shouldn't have made the show because it made fun of World War II." Well, yeah, it did, and every single man, and I do mean man, in that show had been in World War II, and they were okay with it.
yeah.
Hmm.
And some of them had escaped what was happening
Right.
with families.
Robert Clary was in a concentration camp. He was Jewish.
Yep.
Jesus, what's in that? Wow.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, and they were quite happy to. And we silly things. I was saying about one of the channels I follow who do talk a lot about it. And do you know that every episode, it's always winter?
Yeah, I was looking. I saw something. I was just looking to try to
Never
find it.
noticed that.
I saw something about that. I didn't watch the video, but I saw something about it
Yeah.
saying,
Do
"Boys,
you know why? Do you know why it was always winter?
no,
It was
because
it was a conscious decision for two reasons.
Hard to build tunnels in frozen ground.
No,
Oh,
one
okay.
was they were aware of syndication, so they didn't want one where you were watch one episode and it was sunny, the next episode it was snowing. So they decided there was always cold and snow and frost in the windows, so they could watch none of the episodes. They were all episodic, so you could watch them out of sequence, and it would have made zero difference.
all right, yeah,
So that was one of the reasons, and the other reason was because some of them had survived through concentration camps and stuff like that. They wanted to make it bleak,
Mm.
the actual place, and that's why, like, if this is how cold and desolate it is, and they keep bringing up the Russian front, how bad must it have been if they were wanting to stay there? And it was to actually highlight how that. But one of the main reasons was so for syndication that you could watch out of order, which
all
you
right.
can. There's very few that you can watch,
Mm.
but it is. I just love it, so I do. It's one of those shows that is just superb. I'm just actually trying to see if I can find the guy.
Robert Clary apparently was the very last regular cast member alive.
Yep.
And he was 96 when he
last.
died. May he rest in peace.
Is Ivan Dixon not still alive?
The article I read said that he was it, but I could be wrong. The article could be wrong. But let's see. Ivan Dixon.
Because Ivan Dixon he obviously left. He left the show, and that's when they
died in 08.
He died in 08.
He was born in 31, died in 08.
Because that one I was talking about actually does all stuff. They do I Love Lucy, they do Hogan's Heroes, they do Gilligan's Island, they do I Dream of Jeannie, and stuff like that. So let's see.
I didn't know he was in Raisin in the Sun. Huh. But apparently he was.
Played Cashflow, the Ivan Dixon. He additionally didn't think it was going to come to something. He took the job because it was paying money, and he had 4 kids. And even in the first couple of episodes, he didn't think it was going to come to anything. But when it obviously got picked up and it went, and he was happy because it was regular work. And as a black actor of the time, he was one of the most loved of the cast.
Oh, he was great.
And the reason he left is because he felt as he was the straight man. Everybody else got their comedy bits, and because he was the radio operator, and he felt as if a lot of his stuff was the more serious side, and he wanted to do the comedy a bit more, so he decided to leave. But apart from being an actor, he was a director, and some stuff that Miami Vice, he was a director. He directed a couple. Oh, there was a couple of the ones that were mentioned. I'll put the thing in. This is the channel that has.
Apparently, he grew up with Gregory Hines, reading his obituary.
Well, that's the channel. It does a lot of the stuff of the old stuff, and it does some really fun stuff. So it does, and it is the Hogan's Heroes one, all about Kinslow and why he left, or Ivan Dixon why he left, and what happened, what he did, because he directed some stuff that I'm sitting there thinking, oh, didn't know he directed that, and it just seemed out of place because you remember him in Hogan's Heroes, and then he's directed and he's done a bit of this TV show and that TV show and that TV show, and you're sitting there thinking they are just so different. Waltons, I think he did a couple of episodes in the Waltons as well.
Oh.
He directed them. It was amazing to actually find out a lot of the stuff he did afterwards. And yeah, when he left and they brought in Jason, it wasn't Jason Washington, it was something Washington. They brought him in, and he just basically felt as if he was just. The good thing is they didn't bring him in as Kinslow; they brought him in as a different character. So they didn't actually just think, "Oh, we need to replace him." But
wow, he was in I Spy also. And he was only 76.
Yep. Yeah. That is a great wee channel, that one, Rick Mendy. So it is. It's just does some really good classic comedies, and I must admit, I love it when he's talking about Hogan's Heroes and some of the stuff.
Oh, Hogan's Heroes is brilliant.
Yeah, so I'm rewatching it again. So it's amazing watching the first episode compared to the rest, because the first episode was in black and white.
Right.
It had a Russian in it. Carter was one of the escapees who was in and out. He was passing through. And then obviously after the pilot got picked up, it's in colour, and Carter's now one of the main characters. The Russian character's gone and stuff like that. So it was just even seeing how they initially envisioned it. And then
it's always interesting, especially if you watch a pilot from after you've seen the series. I mean, I'm sitting there, for example. No, hold on a second. No, Julie, you haven't seen Babylon 5 yet, have you?
Yeah, Yeah, the Babylon 5 pilot with
Yeah,
Delenn.
no, I'm just watching
I've never
that.
seen Babylon 5.
I say, and I'm 5 minutes in, and I'm going, you know, something such as that. You know, there's a bit where they're explaining what happens, and Sinclair's explaining. This is not spoilers because it's part of this. What happened to what's called Babylon 5, and they're saying the fourth one disappeared. No one knows what happened to it. And I'm sitting there shouting at the screen because, of course, we later on find out what happened to it. You know, things like this. You go through these things, and it's amazing just to see these things.
Even Babylon 5.
Yeah.
They originally wanted, they had Delenn, but they wanted the Minbari to be more androgynous. So if it was a male playing it, they wanted to make the character had a more feminine look.
Well, apparently,
they wanted to make them more male look. So they wanted to be androgynous, so you couldn't tell if it was a male or female playing the part. And that was the way they did. So that's when you see Delenn initially, the prosthetics she's got is to make her more.
Apparently, one original idea was that the chain was that at some point her character was literally going to become a female. It was going to be, I think, as part of the Minbari life cycle, he was going to become a she.
Yeah,
but that wouldn't come.
To be a bit more.
But yeah, they would you want to be androgynous? Yeah, but I'm saying, you look at that, you're sitting there, you said, okay, but I mean, it's a testament to the storytelling. I think you're going through that, and every 4 minutes you're going, I know the answer to that one. I know where that's going. I know where that's going, because there's so much in it that just pays off later on down the series. You know, I mean, because it's because of the way it's written. And that was just the original pilot.
Yeah, but it's weird watching a pilot. It's weirder watching the pilot after you remember the show and go back and watch the pilot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
If you watch the pilot and then you see the next episode, you see where they've made the change, and it's less jarring because they've set the pilot and you go, oh right, and then you go, Where's he? Why have they brought him in? But if you remember the thing and then go back and watch the very first one, you sit there and go, don't like that. Whereas it's actually not too bad. The very first episode of Hogan's Heroes is still really good, but it's different. So it is fun to rewatch it. I watch Hogan's Heroes at least once a year. I just love it. It's just one of those ones you can sit on and you can just enjoy, sit back, relax, and enjoy. There is no great, you need to actually pay attention because this or that, or the storyline, and it's just all fun for the sake of fun.
Well,
and the top acting works for it.
One thing it just hit me about rewatching all the Hogan's Heroes and everything is, and Colin, this goes back to what you and I were talking about over on Discord, is how one of the many reasons that our childhoods are different from now. I look back and the 3 of the shows that my dad and I used to watch together in the 60s that were appointment TV were Hogan's Heroes, McHale's Navy, and F Troop.
Yep.
All about war.
Yeah.
And
and 2 of them were living memory war.
Yeah.
This is McHale's Navy. I still.
Did you guys get that?
Swordline was just superb in it.
I think we did. Yeah. I don't remember.
And of course, it's the first place anybody had ever seen Tim Conway.
I wonder if it is a generational thing. I mean, we were talking earlier on today, and I was trying to be polite when I made that comment I made about the World at War when it first came out. It came out. We're of a generation whose parents were kids during World War II.
Right.
We are a very, we're as much end stage boomers as we may be. The reason our generation exists is that our boomers, that our generation, our parents, most of our parents were kids, so they'd had the experience of living through it.
Yeah.
We grew up very close to it. I mean,
Yeah, it was
I
a living
remember.
memory
If you
for
look at
us.
90% of the TV shows and movies we were watching, they were old war movies.
Yeah.
Even if it's necessarily World War II, there was Zulu, there was there was All Quiet in the Western Front. There was a lot of war movies. There was Waterloo. There was a lot of war movies, and it was because of this. A lot of the Second World War ones was because there was still a lot of the kit around.
Yeah,
When they
but
were
what?
making it,
What?
and it was just all
What a minute!
excess.
I'm just wondering if it is. Hey, Kelly. I'm just wondering if it is a generational thing, and without meaning to, without meaning to put down on the current generations, that as I said, we grew up. We had parents who lived through the Second World War as kids, and seen it from a kid's viewpoint. We have programs made by people who had been adults. I mean, you look at the number of. I mean, there was a thing I was watching the other day that Richard Todd, of the Dam Busters fame, also, when he starred in A Bridge Too Far. No, was it Bridge Too Far? No. Was it Bridge Too Far? Was one of them?
Who are we talking about? The Bridge Too Far?
Richard Todd. I can't remember. He was in a. I don't think it was him. He was in a film, and he was playing his own commanding officer.
That was A Bridge Too Far.
It was A Bridge Too Far, was it? That Richard Todd was in.
Basically, yeah, because he was at Market Garden.
Because I know Doug Bogard was at Market Garden as well. I couldn't remember. But yeah, but again, so you've got these things. That's what we've got going up for that generation. Whereas nowadays, we've got a generation growing up who, or the generation between us and the current generation, if you like. And again, as I said, I'm actually sort of trying to be a bit explanatory rather than put down here. They're looking back on it, and they're looking back on it, and they're looking back on something as a pure evil thing. They're looking back on it through the eyes of someone for it's purely history.
Right. They're learning it as history.
They're
we
learning
learned about it because people we knew were in it.
Yeah. So so you can look can look back. I mean, I know there's a thing on one of the channels I follow, but they were talking about. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with other people's takes, but they're talking about that because it's a modeling channel, paint. They were painting a set of figures from a game called Bolt Action, which is a World War II game.
Yeah.
One of them said, "Please don't make me paint the Germans." I know the point they're saying behind this is that with World War II era wargaming, nobody seems to want to play the Germans because they don't want to have the what symbols on the game. Now, I used to enjoy making the models because I thought the kit was better. The kit looked better. I know a lot of people in the reenactment communities. Yes, there were some people a couple of decades ago, maybe, who were perhaps a little bit too enamored of the people they were playing. But most people just took it as, okay, well, you've got to play one side or the other. And the kit's that good. We just because we're doing that, doesn't mean we actually follow that at all. Yeah. Whereas these days it seems to be that they don't seem to be able, because it's that historically past. They don't. I think they've been taught that it's an evil, but they've been taught that it's they're that far enough away that they are a complete generation removed. But they've been taught that it was an evil by a generation who was closer to it, if that makes sense. So as opposed to the Zulu Wars, for example, with Zulu, or as opposed to anything further back than that, where it is safely in history and you can actually now do both sides, I think. Yes. I don't know if that makes sense, but it seems maybe a reason why these days is, as you said, you couldn't get away with this, you couldn't remake anything these days, because no one would want to be the bad guys. The mid-20s, the fact that we have to say mid-20th century Germans and everybody knows what we mean is
it is weird as hell.
Yeah.
I
mean, it says a great deal about it.
Yeah, and the weirder thing about all three of those shows is that they were comedies.
Yes.
They weren't dramas. They were poking fun at anything, everybody and everything. I mean, obviously in Hogan's Heroes, they were making fun of the Germans. In McHale's Navy, they were making fun of the Japanese.
Yeah.
And in F Troop, they were making fun of everybody.
Well, the weird thing
is, as well is another one I've got, and I think it was just fun.
Which one?
F Troop.
Oh, I own F Troop. Unfortunately, a lot of these old shows, they don't do a very good DVD treatment of them.
They don't. They're basically
terrible.
They are a bit, but I have got it. However, it's, as you said, it's an old one. It's the same as some of the other stuff I've got where on video, and all they've done is basically just recorded the video onto a DVD. They've not cleaned it up, nothing.
Yeah, Remington Steele is like that. It's just boring.
I remember Remington Steele.
God, I love that show.
Pierce Brosnan, that was why he couldn't become James Bond until later on.
Hey, the man is like a fine wine. He ages really well.
Well, he ages.
We all age.
Yeah. Well,
Pierce Brosnan in Remington Steele. I only remember Stephanie Zimbalist.
Yes, no, I can understand that.
There you go, Peter. Where was it? Come on, it was Miranda. They called it set for Action Man.
Colditz was a really good Big Finish story.
Well, Colditz was a really good TV story.
Oh, I don't know it.
I've got the game somewhere. Colditz.
Colditz, right? There was the movie, but there was also a show, Colditz.
Yep, David McCallum.
I love David McCallum.
Yeah, but Colditz. We're all sitting watching Colditz. Right, you imagine the pitch meeting for that. Right, it's about the Second World War. Oh, good, a war movie. No, they're on prison. Oh, so it's all about escapes. Well, it's about their life in the prison and them trying to organise escapes, but it's about their life in prison. And you'd be sitting nowadays going, nah. But it was so compelling and so great to watch. And I didn't have it. I did see it. I couldn't afford it. Miranda obviously had a better parents than me for that. My dad said no. Got me.
Well,
he got me. Even that's what we were saying, right? We were talking about that, right? I got my Action Man, and I had the Scout car, 4 wheels, wee machine gun on the turret. Action Man stood in it. What did my brother get? The German half track. And it looked cool. And it was because he had the German half track, we saved up to buy extra Action Men. Because mine's Scout car, he stood in it, and that was it. It was a one-man vehicle.
Yeah.
He had the half track. You could put 2 and 4 in the back. So we could all play in it. Or then one of my friends had the Jeep. So the 4 of us could play it. Somebody else had the helicopter, so he was on his Todd as well. So I had a Scout car, he had the helicopter. And between the other 6 of us, there was one in a Jeep and one in 2 in a Jeep and 4 in a Scout, the half track. And it was basically one of those ones. So everybody actually had something they could sit in when we were all playing. Because not everybody had anything other than the figure.
Well, no. I mean, I wonder if you could actually if you could do World War II German uniforms for Action Man these days. It's, I mean, it's. Yeah.
I had the German sailor outfit because it actually I had the British sailor as well, but the German sailor just looked a wee bit different because the British sailor one was the white shirt with the bit going down the back and the collar with the wee ribbons, but the German one was a dark blue, so it looked.
Well, I remember a couple of episodes of Colditz. I mean, one I remember particularly, not the entire episode, but I remember basically there's one of them where actually could almost have been a series version of Klinger in MASH. Klinger. Where there's a guy he's in Colditz, obviously, and he pretends to be going nuts. And because of the Geneva Convention and the rule and he basically eventually gets repatriated.
Yeah.
And a little later, I think the commander sort of gets a letter saying he's actually still nuts and he's actually in the loony bin. So he turns around and he forbids anybody to use that again.
Basically,
it was
got a letter from the family asking them to thank the German soldier who was the one they had to crack, because if he believed, then anybody would believe. And it was the family writing a letter thanking the German soldier for looking after her husband, and he's now happily at home in a sanitarium.
Yeah.
And that's basically, and that's, I remember that episode as well. It was a very powerful one, considering it was all about, one episode was about one guy's way of trying to escape by acting crazy.
Yeah.
To the point where he literally couldn't stop and he drove himself crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
and that
it was
a very good story, because it was a case of, right, it worked, but nobody else is to do it because it's the one person that did it just it basically drove crazy.
Well, and it's odd. I mean, I don't know what your side was like for in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s for war dramas, Shirley, but we had things like Colditz, we had Secret Army, and I'm sorry, I prefer Secret Army to Allo Allo any day. Even though Allo Allo was Secret Army as a comedy.
No.
I don't remember seeing any World War II dramas on TV. I remember a lot of movies, like The Happiest Years of Our Lives and 12 O'Clock High and all that. Actually, 12 O'Clock High was a TV show.
Yeah, but Colin, the one thing about Secret Army and Allo Allo, no matter what, you cannot compare them. One was a fast take comedy.
Yes.
Even if they're based on the same story, they're completely different genres. And
I'm not trying to compare apples to oranges. So I maybe rephrase that one. I would say, different things, but I will but I much prefer. So we say I preferred Secret Army over the one thing.
Secret Army was just was more superior because it was one of those shows that dragged you in slowly.
Yeah.
And just...
Those opening credit titles were quite amazing as well. But it occurs to me that there is, I think, there is one big difference, and I think it may be reflected in the TV as well, between the American experience of World War II and the British experience.
Well, yes.
Is direction. I think the only program I can think of which looks at the Japanese and the Pacific War on British TV, whereas the Americans were much more focused, and that's the nature of the beast. Is what it was,
Well,
that's true. There's a lot. There was a lot on the U.S. and the Pacific War.
Yeah, but you look at the
McHale's Navy was the Pacific War.
We had Dad's Army.
Yeah,
it was about Home Guard and the thing. We had McHale's Navy, and that was about the Japanese, and so it was different fronts. Yes, there were British in the Pacific, there was Americans in Europe, but because of what happened and how it happened, like Dunkirk for the UK and Pearl Harbor for the Americans, different, I wouldn't say priorities, but different instigating factors. And that's what made, even though the comedies taking the mickey, so you had Dad's Army, don't tell him, Pike, and you know what I mean, your name will go down after the war. And whereas in the McHale's Navy, it was taking the piss out of the Japanese. It was that type of thing. So I think that's what. So whereas the British, they had like Colditz, the World at War, and stuff like that. Different priorities made the program different.
Oh God, I know the World at War. There was another one similar that focused on the Pacific War, and I'm drawing a blank as to the name.
I don't.
Well, I know the ones that did Band of Brothers also did the Pacific.
No, this was also back from the 60s and 70s, around the same time as World at War, and I cannot remember the name of it.
Oh,
I know World at War did do both.
They did. The World at War did
theatres,
talk about the Japanese invasion of Nanking and stuff like that as part of it. It wasn't as prevalent because they did mainly talk about the British, the European theatre. But But it's the same idea that things that we watch on TV, and you realise that even on TV, they never actually they didn't lie too much, right? You look at the Pacific, right? So you had the attack in Pearl Harbor, but later on you realise that how many times did you see a Japanese sub in any of the war movies? And if you did, what were they attacking? Usually warships. And then you realise that if you watch it, you've got the British subs, American subs, and German subs. They are actually sinking merchant ships, whereas the Japanese didn't class a merchant ship as a viable target, so they would only go after military ships.
Well, it's a sentiment. Again, I think that may be a product of closeness. Is that back in those days we were a lot closer to it, and there were people were actually aware of the realities.
Even at the height of where they were starting to get pushed back, they still didn't see merchant ships as
I'm saying is not that. I'm saying from the point of view of the makers of it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is things like that you don't when you realise that when you get told that, because you get told that later on and you find out about it later on, then you go back and watch all the old war movies, and there's never once you see a Japanese attacking a merchant ship because it just never happens. So they don't highlight it, but they obviously just don't do it. So anytime you've seen a Japanese sub attacking something, it's always been a military ship. Even if it's a troop ship, it's still a military ship. But you never see them. Whereas the Germans would sink merchant ships, the Russians would sink merchant ships, the Americans would sink merchant ships, the British would sink merchant ships, because it was to disrupt the supply chain. Whereas Japan never did. And you sit in it when you think about all the things that was known about what the Japanese army did, you think weird, and they never showed it because it never happened. But that's what I'm saying. Even after you find all that out and you go back, nobody turns around and says, "Well, just have them attacking that because it will make them look worse." But nobody did, because when they were writing it, as you said, they were people who had fought in the war and they were aware of what was happening.
We had a lot of those things. I mean, I know some of the series I remember watching. I mean, Secret Army. Wish Me Luck.
Oh, I loved Wish Me Luck.
What have they got in common? They're all female led or maybe female characters. And we had, we were doing things, which is one of the things that I absolutely detested. The last episode of Fake Jodie Who that I watched, which was Spyfall Plot 2. I was really nervous about that, where they were going to go with that story, and they didn't, fortunately. But I detested what they did with that. because they made so much light of a person and of a real person and a situation which had been done so much better in dramas over 20 years earlier.
Wish Me Luck was so good.
Yeah.
Probably.
Peter, that one about the Lee Marvin on the island, was that not about the nun as well?
No, that was Deborah Kerr and Gene Kelly, was it? Goodness knows, Mr. Allison.
Deborah Carr, before she went to she became a nun.
Did she?
I thought the one about.
Pretty sure it's Deborah Carr became a nun. I could be wrong. It's
I
somebody who became a nun.
You know, I was watching. It's just when they mentioned Lee Marvin.
Nope, British actress. I'm sorry, I'm thinking somebody else. Never mind.
Yeah, I can't remember what one it was, but the only reason that I was watching Cat Ballou.
Dolores Hart.
Cat Ballou. Lee Marvin playing the old drunken guy.
Pete, are you thinking about the one where there's him and a Japanese soldier stuck on the island? A kind of similar to the storyline of Enemy Mine.
Yeah, and it was a similar one they did in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. Although I know Enemy Mine is based on a book by Barry Longyear, but a similar story. But I don't know if there was any connection with it. Robert Mitchum. Yeah, thank you, Robert. Robert Mitchum.
That's what it was. But the Lee Marvin one where I'm on the island, I can't remember.
I'm sorry, Deb. Okay, I'm going to put on my dirty old man hat now. Deborah Kerr in a nun's habit. Deborah Kerr dancing with and flirting with Yul Brynner, much higher up the ladder. Deborah Kerr dressed as a Roman, top tier. Also, Quo Vadis was a fantastic movie anyway.
Talking about Quo Vadis and Roman TV shows or movies. R.I.P. Glenda Jackson.
Oh no, yes. She passed away. I didn't see she passed away.
I hated her politics, but she herself was a brilliant actress.
Yes. The one with her with Morecambe and Wise. Dude, what do you think of that?
I loved her as Elizabeth I.
Yeah.
Actually, you know,
she went into politics and she was still quite successful, but it just goes to show, even then, with the difference in the caliber, you've got a few actors who can go into politics and are successful. Ronald Reagan, the most famous one for America, but you also had a couple over here, so like Glenda Jackson went into it and stuff like that. Whereas they weren't glove puppets, basically. Hello, I all say what I don't to say, like an actor. Like nowadays, where an actor can't actually have a thought unless somebody actually puts it in their head.
Well, I mean, you said about Glenda Jackson. Actually, I mean, I can see a degree of a connection there, in a way. If you go back again to Cat Ballou, Jane Fonda, both very vocal about their politics. In Jane Fonda's case,
she pushed it every.
Jane and Hannah Jane
Fonda was a traitor.
She was, but she pushed it out there in everything she did. Glenda Jackson didn't do politics in her career. She stood as an MP, if I remember correctly. I believe was actually elected as an MP. You know, she took her part and said, "Okay, this is my politics, and I'm actually gonna, I'm gonna say, okay, fine. It's important enough to me that I'm going to go this way. I'm not going to just make speeches and the rest of it." So similar in that both quite good. They're both very good actresses. Let's give the ladies their due. Both with politics, which we would
Jane Fonda, politics, everything, but Barbarella.
Yes, my late father's favourite, but the only sci-fi film Dad ever liked, I think, was Barbarella. Yes.
Yeah, I mean. But the thing is, they're actors, so out with acting I pay zero attention to anything about them.
Yeah.
Because
Why?
they're nowadays, especially, they're just vacant puppets that just somebody puts words into their mouth. And
Well, that's why
whereas you've got certain ones who, you know, they could go into politics and go into anything because they're obviously very intelligent. Some of them are very intelligent, but the ones that are very intelligent usually keep their mouth shut and you don't notice it until later in life.
James Woods is pretty vocal about his politics.
Yes.
Yeah.
But same again, even he's more what they would class as right wing. But
Oh, absolutely.
I like him in a lot of his movies, but when it comes to anything out with it, I just ignore it because I don't care about an actor's politics.
Mhm.
You look at the Big Bang Theory, right?
Hmm.
One of my favorite characters in it, my least favorite character is Sheldon. My
Mhm.
favorite character is Wolowitz. However, out with their acting roles, I like both of them. The opposite. I dislike the guy who plays Howard, and I really like Jim Parsons.
Mhm.
Because Jim Parsons in other things is just amazing. And
I
but
s-
politics, I don't care about. I don't care about either politics. But if
Right.
you're
No.
looking at them out with their characters, they're just so different, and they're just a. Jim Parsons is a hard worker,
Yep.
very very talented man. The guy who played Howard is talented, but he's all mouth, and he basically it's almost a case of if you don't believe in me, I hate you.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
Jim
yes,
Parsons, I literally, I think as far as I can recall, I've only seen him in two things. I may have seen him in other things, but not knowing who he was at the time.
He's done a few animated
big-
stuff. He did.
Big Bang Theory, and complete and utterly different Hidden Figures.
Mm.
Fantastic movie,
I still
even
haven't seen it.
even if a lot of it is somewhat
Made up.
Yeah,
made
He
up,
also-
exaggerated. I don't know. I mean, I would say it's. I think they say it's based on a true story, which is good. It is, yeah. Most of it is true, and in fact, some of the things about those ladies, especially some of the things you see the end credits about the three leads. You know, they had amazing careers, all three of them, and they did fantastic things. And it is and it is an excellent it's an excellent film. The last book I bought for my mother years ago before she passed away, and I've got was the book of Hidden Figures. It's a really good. Unfortunately, my biggest disappointment, I think, one of these seasons is there's a scene where which apparently didn't actually happen, where if you're not aware of it, basically it's about three African American ladies,
Right.
all of
I know what it's about.
whom work at NASA, and all of whom are, because it's in the 50s, in that work environment. There's one.
You basically
There-
says in the 50s there was a few seconds of dead.
They're in the environment that America was when it comes to race relations in the 50s and the 60s.
Especially in the South.
Yeah, Kirsten Dunst does a really, really good role as one of the females who has somewhat of an epiphany towards the end about racial segregations and the rest of it. But there's one scene in it where I'm pretty certain it's the lead character who's a mathematician. And a lot of it is based around the first space flight with John Glenn. I think it's John Glenn.
Oh no, John Glenn was the first to go around the Earth. It was oh God, what was his name?
I've got a feeling it was. I've got a feeling it was John. I'm not sure.
Oh God, who was the guy who was the first American in space? And it was not John Glenn.
John Shepard.
That's it, Alan Shepard.
It may have been Alan Shepard. Then I'm not sure.
My uncle was.
He just went up and came down.
My uncle was a big NASA fan. He basically had all the figures. He had all the space ships and everything. And my nephew or my cousin is called Neil Armstrong.
Wow. My
He
my my
was
mum
called after
spoke
Neil
to Neil
Armstrong.
Armstrong.
Uh-huh.
My
So-
mum actually spoke to Neil Armstrong. He visited.
Really?
Only in passing. He visited British Airways.
See, my mum and dad, well, my dad especially. See, when Yuri Gagarin came over to the UK and he got basically big ticker parades and all that, and he was celebrated because of his thing. My dad went and saw him. And yet nowadays it's a case of even in the 70s, Russians, no, it's 82, you don't go in the Russians, no, they're bad guys. And you're sitting there thinking, when Yuri Gagarin actually first man in space, he was lauded all over the world.
Yeah,
But
look,
didn't care where he came from. There was a man, and he had ticker tape parades wherever he went. It was the same even when they landed on the moon. Those Neil Armstrong and stuff like that, they got laurels all over the world as well. Even though the Cold War, the Russians didn't turn around and go, the Americans. The Americans
they did. I mean, they did it. The reason a particular series is called what it is called is because when the Americans got there, they did say they did it for all mankind.
Yeah.
They made a point of saying that. But the scene in this film is this is like, there's a bit where she's a mathematical, and she's a mathematical genius. And there's a bit where
the woman, think about it, until late on in her life, people didn't realize that the person that did all the calculations by hand,
yes, exactly, yes,
was a female.
No,
they just
exactly, yeah.
They just assumed all these things were guys, but it was only late on in life. Yeah, everybody in the industry knew who she was.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, this gets me. She keeps coming back, and at one point, asks her where she's been, and she quite literally blows up because she's been to the loo, and she's had to go halfway across the NASA compound to go to the loo. She comes back, and she's still, oh no! And the next thing you see, which apparently, oh God, I wish it had happened, but it hadn't, is Kevin Costner taking a crowbar, and there's a sign saying white only, and he just smashes it. And I believe he says something like, we all pee the same colour, or something like that. But unfortunately, apparently that never happened. But it's such a powerful scene. He does that again. He's literally just saying, like, sod this thing. But I'm not having
in all fairness, a lot of these politicians want that again.
Yeah.
But instead of actually saying whites only, they're wanting things that will say blacks only, as if that actually makes any better.
I mean, the amazing thing about that is that there's another scene in there just to show the importance of these. And when Alan Shepard is I think he's go or no go for re-entry, which is why I'm not sure if it was Shepard or if it was John Glenn coming back in, because I'm pretty certain it was re-entry, and he's doing something, and he's not happy to do it until he knows that that this lady is the one that's done the calculations. And it's that important that he said, I genuinely can't remember the lady's name. Has she checked it?
Yeah.
And they do this, and there's a bit where they're standing, and there's a mass. There's an entire massive load of ladies, of coloured ladies at NASA, and they're all under. They're called calculators, computers, because computers.
They were called computers, right?
Yeah,
Back then,
exactly.
People did the numbers were called computers.
Yeah, but exactly, and they're standing on one side, and I think it's either Glenn or Shepard who's come down, and he makes sure it goes out of his way to go and talk to them as well, because they stood off to one side. It is even in this day and age when we're bombarded with so much revisionist history, it is, where there's so much really inspiring real actual history out there. It's, as I said, I mean, I think it's a fantastic film.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat. They're talking about Woody Allen, Sleeper. I picked them up last couple of weeks ago. but Casino Royale, where he played
yeah.
Jimmy Bond,
Damn, that was a funny movie.
where he wanted
We'll take the world like a
he
casino.
had a serum that killed all men over 5'6", and it made all women beautiful.
Yeah. And everybody, you said the credit title was everybody was James Bond, even Ursula Andress was James Bond. Oh, that was yeah.
Yeah,
What I read, there's I think it's Sleeper. There's a really
superb.
Sleeper is brilliant.
The bit when he wakes up and he's stealing the celery and the banana.
No, I think it's Sleeper. It turns out, and which basically, I mean, it's a silly scene, and it's
Woody Allen. It's a Sleeper. They're all silly scenes.
Yeah, but I mean,
Good point.
Yeah, it's true, but it points out the. Oh my dear God! I really think I just haven't thought about it. Someone should play that scene every time Fauci's on scene. Basically, he's coming there saying, he's being told, and we used to think that cream cakes, fat foods, and things were bad for you. The exact opposite of what we now know to be the case.
Oh yeah, there's a line where he said when somebody offers him a cigarette, and he says, "No, I own a health food store," and the guy says, "No, you don't realize smoking cigarettes is one of the healthiest things you can do for your body."
Yeah. Aye, that's right.
Yeah,
one of my favorite scenes.
They also did the bit about genetically modified food, and he's running about that big banana.
I know. Yeah. God, what a brilliant movie! I need to see that again.
Yeah.
I mean, his early movies were.
I'm actually going to be going through them, but
Woody Allen's early movies were priceless.
Well, say there's an early. I'm reasonably certain it's an early Woody Allen movie, and I can just about picture the chap doing it, but I can't remember the name. But just to show how technology has changed.
Not Sleeper?
Leaving his office for the evening, for the weekend on Friday, and he turns around to his secretary and he says, "Well, I'm off. I'm gonna between now I'll be back in about. I'll be at such and such. I'll be at 555. Blah 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 blah."
He gives it
between now, he gives about 7 or 8 numbers where he's going to be throughout the evening and at night to contact him.
Yeah, I remember that one. I'm trying to remember the actual.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And basically, he goes out his office, and instead of it's a case of I'll be contactable by mobile, it'd be a case of between this number and this number, I'm going to be here. Then I'm going to be here at this number. I'm going to be here at this number, and they can catch me. You just give me a phone whenever you get that call.
Is that the movie that starred Kenneth Branagh as the Woody Allen character?
No, I don't think so. Because I think it's...
Bananas.
Oh, Bananas was hilarious. Bananas was hilarious. Yeah, Bananas. He was a revolutionary. Not a very good one.
I've got a feeling it was. For some reason, I'm conflating with Bob and Ted and Cal and Alice, but I've got a.
Yeah, it's been a wee while since I've watched any Woody Allen. That's why when I got the chance a couple of weeks ago, I picked up the Woody Allen collection. And I'm going to go through them all.
Last Woody Allen I saw was Midnight in Paris, and I saw that on a plane. It was good, but it wasn't a classic.
The last Woody Allen movie I saw, it was about 5 years ago, and it was Casino Royale. Before that, I've seen a lot of his stuff, but I think that was the last one I saw. And as I said, I picked up the collection, so I'm going to watch that. I think that's going to be next week's viewing for me. So it is.
Well, the other thing is there's one other scene I think which summed up how fast that technology is going, and that's Mork and Mindy.
Oh, I know.
And
God.
There's an episode in Mork and Mindy where Mindy's grandmother, I think the setup was a friend of hers passes away, and she's very upset, and Mork ages himself. The makeup is quite fantastic by the time, if as I recall correctly, on Robin Williams, and he ages himself to make friends with a grandma, to in a good way. He's not moving, he's trying to understand, and he's making to help her make her feel better. And at the very end of the episode, he outs himself, and and she takes it in a stride. And Mork's line is, I mean, it's probably not quite as obviously, but a long time since I've seen him. But Mork sort of says, you don't seem surprised to know that I'm an alien. And the grandma says, in my lifetime, we've gone from the first heavy than air flight to walking on the moon. In one lifetime, in 60, 63, 66 years.
Yeah. See,
1903, the White Brothers, I think, 6 on the moon landing.
and that Neurotics, Forgotten Frontiers.
No, I haven't seen any of those.
We're on the 20th episode, right? I like a lot of that stuff. There's certain parts of it I turn around and go, I just go, nah. Like, I like Graham Hancock stuff, but one of Graham Hancock said was that because of the layout of the Great Pyramids, the bases had to have been built 940 BC or something like that. However, with the line of the shafts in the Great Pyramid, they could only, because of where they lined up in the sky and what the thing, they could have only been built roughly about 2500 BC. And you're sitting there thinking, so, and his reasoning was there had to have been a cult that survived that. It was 2 phases of building, and I'm sitting there even thinking, people can't, in 100 years, people go from flying to landing on the moon.
Oh, yeah.
And countries attack each other and then disappear off the map. In a 500 years, a culture goes, and you're trying to tell me over 7,000 years they had this plan that we start building here and then we finish building there. And I can't believe certain aspects of it. However, when he's talking about a forgotten civilization, it's basically humanity. He doesn't talk about ancient aliens. He talks about a forgotten civilization, as in humanity has forgotten. So, like the Atlantis, if you look at different cultures all around the world, they've got a very similar mythos about.
Well, we
But and it's things like in 100 years, we went from not flying to landing on the moon.
Yeah.
In 100 years, and yet they're telling us since this Göbekli Tepe 12,500 years ago to now, or to 2,000 years ago, they were using the same tools. So over 10,000 years, their tools never changed. And then it's only been gradually, very gradually, over thousands of years that we've thingy. But in the last 100 years, we went, and you're sitting there thinking, yeah, well, if in 100 years we could do so much, how come for 10,000 years nothing changed?
You've got to build up to it. I mean, you as Einstein said, you stood on the shoulders of giants. But I mean, the thing is, there's a thing, the 1100s, I think, BC, called the Great Bronze Age Collapse, where everything got, which is what.
Yeah. Well, they even talk about
our mythology at the time they're made, at the time they were written.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They say humans as we know them have been around for 170,000 years. Yeah, only in the last 200 years they've actually done so much. And you're sitting there thinking, so in 200 years they can do so much, but for all those hundreds of thousands of years,
it's exponential, I think. I mean,
exactly. But I can understand that it's a gradual process, and as you understand more, you do more.
Yeah.
But you're effectively saying for 150,000 years they were stagnant.
Well,
they started learning, and then from there, and then in the last 100 years boom, and it's a
Well,
case of it's like a curve going like that, and then suddenly going straight up. No, I would expect the curve to go like
yeah,
that.
the thing is, what you've got is I mean, I would say you've got several points. Now, the interesting thing is whether they occur just once or they occur typically several times. But probably the first big boost is when writing is invented, because
When what?
writing,
Ah,
once writing is invented, record keeping is invented, you no longer lose knowledge.
No,
You,
but
do, you and more to the point, you no longer have to relearn everything from scratch. You can base on that one, so you can say, okay, we know this.
Yeah,
You know,
that's why it's called. That's
Einstein.
why it's called the Dark Ages, because although they had writing, the material they were writing on didn't survive.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, I mean, think of Civilization. Any of the Civ games.
But
Right?
see, according to
One of the
science,
first things you do is you develop writing, and actually, once you develop writing, that gives you a boost, because from then on you go to so many other things, because you
yeah,
can record
but
things. You don't
according
write
to
them one word of
science,
mouth only.
see the people who built the walls and Göbekli Tepe and the pyramids, they didn't have writing.
I'm not
They
sure
didn't
about
have
the
the
pyramids.
wheel.
I don't know
They
how to
didn't
get.
have writing and they didn't have the wheel, but they built all those massive things.
Well, I think I'm not sure they
No,
didn't
they
have.
says they basically they've
Well,
been saying that the people who built it were the same people who didn't have the wheel and didn't have writing.
well, I'm not sure. But I mean, but I know Göbekli Pepe. I can't pronounce it. Um, I'm not that sure, but that's reasonably new to me. But I know. So, I mean, I remember back when I was a kid, you saw pictures of them building the pyramids, and they were moving the blocks of stone on logs. So they might not have had they did have a wheel, because they had chariots. Because chariots are well old, but
Yeah.
right.
they
It's
had.
the
No,
American
no.
Indians.
That's ancient
Yeah.
Egypt. We're talking about in South
Right.
America.
The South American natives who built
Oh,
the
right.
pyramids here did not have the wheel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yet you're
Sorry.
seeing they built
Yeah, I
all
was
that
still
stuff
in.
in the top of mountains, and they didn't have the wheel and they didn't have writing. That's
Right.
what I'm saying. In Egypt, there's hieroglyphs. There's already in Samaria. There's the Sumerian
Right.
tablets.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm not that familiar with the American.
Yeah, but in
history.
effect, so in Egypt, there's the Sumerian cuneiform.
Yeah,
And there's
hieroglyphics.
hieroglyphics. So there's basically a lot of documentation that's still there. But they're saying the people in the other side of the world, in South America, who built theirs, not only built theirs, built them on top of mountains where the some of the monoliths they got were from the other mountain peak. So they got the mountain from a bit from there, a couple of 100 tons, brought it down into the valley, then back up, and then built. And they're saying they not only didn't have the wheel, they didn't have writing. But
And they
that's
didn't
what
have
I'm saying.
horses.
Yeah,
They didn't have horses either.
yeah.
I'm not sure
But the thing is,
that development was when they built Stonehenge.
but that's what I'm saying. It's things like that. That's what I'm saying is some of the Graham Hancock stuff about it's a lost civilization, as in how
Yeah,
many times has history repeated it?
yeah.
Say for instance, a meteor strikes tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
How many people will survive? Say 4%. Let's say 4% survive, and it takes 1,000 years just for them to build up, so they've got a thriving community in different locations that they can start trading. How many things are they going to remember?
Yeah, fair point.
But
Fair point.
even though they started with they had the technology, they had the writing, and then they had to relearn all this stuff because it was in books and and but how much of it would be used kids don't know. But see me, I had this thing. It was a phone, and it had the computer in your hand. And then over the
Mm-hmm.
generations, there's pictures of people with this thing in the hand, and it was the all-knowing, all-seeing,
Hmm.
and that's what I'm saying is what Graham Hancock's saying is we're just a species with amnesia because 1,200 years ago, they reckon there was a meteor strike. The reason they can't find it is because it happened on the ice, basically the ice on the ice in North America. So basically, what it did was it vaporized, and suddenly all those floods all over the world and the sea rising 150 feet happened in a year or so because suddenly all this 2 mile thick glacier was vaporized. That's why in America the Clovis people disappeared. All the giant fauna and flora disappeared because there's
I think you mean
there's
12,000.
graveyards with like mammoths, and they all seem to die out at the same time, and it's almost like they got washed down into this big pit. But it's things like that, and then you've got the scablands, which looks as if it's been scoured. But that's what they're saying. So if that happened then, what happened maybe 12,000 years before that, or
Yeah.
15,000 years before that? How many times has the universe, the generation, basically humanity risen and fallen because of a catastrophe? Because the Aztecs say and even the American Indians say this is the fourth age of man.
No rubbish. It's the second age. We all know that. The third age starts in 2261.
All these things. What I'm saying is that
Yeah.
the American Indians say this is the fourth age of man. So they're saying is there's been catastrophes. So they risen and fallen, risen and fallen, and it's that type of thing. So to me, I'm more likely to believe that ancient aliens, nah, because the fact that an alien's going to come, then go away, then come back 4,000 years later to see, let's see how it goes on. So you're talking about they're either A, immortal, or B, they're saying, right, write this down, because when your grandson's alive, he needs to check the results of my test. Yeah, really? And it's things like that. That's why the ancient alien stuff I watch for entertainment, but
Yeah.
I'm more down the route of how many times has something happened that's reset the human. It's basically a case of Control Alt Delete, switch off, switch back on again. Because you look at the not the Tanuscan one, the one about there was a flare, which it was a solar flare in the 1800s, just when electricity was starting to be used. So like Morse code, the lines where the Morse was getting used to transmit messages backwards and forwards, and it fried all the lines. If that happened now, the world
We'd have a worldwide blackout.
we'd
Yeah.
have a worldwide blackout. It could take 2 years to rectify. That's assuming people are going to be working on it rather than killing each other. You see what I mean? And how many billion of people are going to die of starvation because there's nothing can get around? But that's what I'm saying. So, if say for instance there was a flare and it didn't kill anybody, it just fried the grids across the board, and it takes 2 years to get things back to normal. What's going to happen in those 2 years with no electricity, no infrastructure, no trucks to drive all the food around? How many billions of people are going to die? And how much is going to be lost? Because yeah, we've got a book, we could pick up a book, but how many people actually know how to get access to a book? Because everything's on a phone or it's on their computer, it's gone. And that's what I'm saying. So over those 2 years, you could lose and say 40% of the world population, and how much knowledge, because it's stored. It's not all stored in books. It's stored in crystals. It's stored in memory sticks. It's stored on computers, which are gone. And so it's in effect the Great Reset is come back, and there's effectively who's going to survive it? Who's going to know what it's going to be? Are we going to have Logan's Run? There's just going to be a village, and people say, well, we can't keep affording to have people having kids. So if you're over 25, 30, you have to go and die. So, but these people at the top are the ones that make the decision, and it doesn't apply to them.
Oh, you mean places like Canada?
Yeah.
And California.
But that's what I'm saying. So I'm more on the thing about the amnesia. We're a thing with amnesia.
Yeah, I can. My only caveat with my only hesitation with that sort of thing is it would leave evidence somewhere, a catastrophe. But would it leave evidence we're going to see? I don't know.
But what I'm saying is, like, what monoliths that have been there for longer than they say they have been. But so if somebody says, well, the Sphinx is only 2,500 years old, and somebody turns around and says, well, actually, see all those around the enclosure, that happened during floods, and that happened about 12,000 years ago. So it has to be that long. They go, oh, no. You mean things like that, and you're expecting a scientist or thingy who's getting funding from a particular group to say, well, actually, that could be 10,000 years old instead of 2,000 years old.
Well, I didn't I
go?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I saw something on Can I get on? Please, can I sign up for that?
Hey, there is a movie called Escape from Earth.
Stop the world I want to get off.
Where did they go, though? That's the big question.
It's a Jim Parsons movie.
Is it? Wow.
I'll need to dig it out. Hold on. I'll let you two gab while I go and find it.
We could hang out with the doctor on Mars.
Get
the water monster.
I was going to say, yeah.
From Mars are 1,000,000 to 1, they say.
Oh, is it an animated? Yes. Escape from Planet Earth 2012?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think it's actually quite good. He was actually good in it.
Is he talking to us?
I think he's moved away from. I hope he's moved away from Mike. If he's having the same problems we were having last night, we're in real trouble.
Well, I said to you, I'm going to look at my shelf, so you had to actually talk, but you weren't, so I'm still talking. If you don't listen to me, how am I meant to actually talk?
Yeah, but we just so used to you talking anyway.
I can't find it. I'll need to check the database to see what shelf it's on. So, having to do work, this is terrible used to.
Yeah, Peter, I think Jim Parsons does do voice work as well. PJ was saying earlier on.
He does quite a lot of voice work. He played
a lot of people do it, I think.
Aye.
Although I must admit he wouldn't be able to make it these days because, of course, if he's starring as an alien of some description, he wouldn't be able to do that because, as far as we were aware, he's not a real alien. So only real alien will actually be able to voice an alien in 2023.
Unless he's from New York.
Well, yeah. Yes, Gary. He's the one of the three leads, Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory, also voiceover on, which reminds me, I haven't seen any new season of Young Sheldon for the last couple of years, which I did quite enjoy. I quite like The Big Bang Theory.
I enjoyed it.
Bloat.
I hear it's fun. I've just never seen it.
Yeah, it suffered from cast bloat, and it did not do, and it has been blamed for a lot of the problems in making geekdom and nerddom fashionable.
Hey, I was uncool before it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's cool. It was a good thing, and it was about, and it was about the nerds not being cool, and the fact that all three of the main leads, the one of the big jokes on it was that the Howard character was not a doctor, did not have a doctorate. The others, I can't remember. Leonard Sheldon,
Steader, and Sheldon, and
Leonard
Rad
Sheldon all had doctorates,
and
it was all going.
Was a mister.
Yeah, it's all that's worth it.
Actually worked for a space agency. So there it's Escape from New York.
He's the one that went into space.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean he's the
Brendan Fraser, Sarah Jessica Parker, Jessica Alba, and Ricky Gervais. It didn't have Jim Parsons. Jim Parsons is the other one. It's the one he played. I think it was called the Alien. I can't remember off the top of my head. He played the alien called O. He says, "Why are you called O?" He says, "I don't know." Everybody looks at me and goes, "Oh." Oh, it's you. It's things like that. It's almost like he's such a boring, dull character that everybody just looks at him and go, "Oh, it's you." But Jim Parsons played in that one. I got the two of them mixed up because obviously the two of them are a very similar animation style.
Oh right, okay, fair enough. I just put that in there. No, I quite like. I mean, as I said, I did like The Big Bang Theory, but I say it went on. I think it went on too long. It went on for something like 10, 12 years.
In the US do.
Yeah. I liked The Big Bang Theory, but the big problem with it was that the premise at the beginning that you had one normal guy who was intelligent and it was geeky. Another one was just so out there that he couldn't even talk to his friends properly. Another one who was so shy he couldn't talk to women. And the other one who just thought it was God's gift to women, but he was just a creep. You could just see four people just being friends, and they're just like, and then suddenly they've all got wives and girlfriends and partners, and you're sitting there thinking, they're not actually saying that. It started off with that they were so geeky and stuff like that. They find it hard to actually talk to women, but they all end up with women.
Well, I mean, I thought it was interesting in a way. You could say, you look at it, but that you start off that way, but they grew up, they matured enough to get in relationships. I thought that was interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's creepy or not. It's the very first scene where Penny's moving in. I think it's the very first scene where Penny's moving.
If you saw the original advert, it's the original trailer. It wasn't Penny; it was a different one. Kathy, I think she was. But it starts off with the two of them going to the sperm bank.
Oh, I thought the first one was when they see Penny moving in next door, no,
basically it starts off with them going to the sperm bank and doing that, and then when they get back, she's moving in.
Oh.
And that's because their next door neighbour prior to that was the big black guy who was a transvestite. Remember? And they because what the bit I remember is where Sheldon turns around and says to Leonard, what are you doing? And Leonard says, I'm imagining what our children will look like. The first time he lays eyes on Penny. He says pretty and dumb.
I tell you what I did see was really, really clever. I saw one time of really, really, given the situation theory, that Penny is actually an FBI agent, because we find out quite early on that Leonard's previous girlfriend had been a Chinese spy. Who does that remind me of? He should be in politics. And the idea is that they've all she's only pretends, but she moves in and gets married to them. It's undercover FBI or something similar agent keeping track of these guys because they're security guards. As a silly thing. It wasn't intended to be serious, but it was really cleverly thought out Okay, well that would explain why this gorgeous blonde is with these guys for so long.
Yeah. At least when Bernadette came in, you could understand it because she was not geeky, but uber intelligent, but
Yeah.
she still was. I wouldn't even say standoffish. It was almost a case of she was awkward around people. But the fact that she started off in the Cheesecake Factory as another waitress, and then
Oh
suddenly
yeah.
high-powered microbiologist.
Wasn't she supposed to be studying at the time? I think.
Yeah, but even at that,
Well,
she
sure.
sort of got the job, and suddenly she's at the top of her game.
Yeah, there was
It just basically it flipped too quickly, and at least when you aim a Fowler, she's already in the position, and she's always there.
And unlike any of the other cast members,
she's the only one
Mia Burnett does actually have a doctorate in microbiology. She was her character, so she's the only person who under current rules would actually be allowed to play that character.
Who, Mayim Bialik?
Yeah,
yeah,
because she actually has a doctorate in microbiology, so she would be able to play microbiologist under current rules where you can only play what you are. There's no such thing as acting.
But the thing is, I liked the premise of it, but I thought it went on a wee bit too long.
Yeah.
Young Sheldon, no interest on it.
Absolutely. I saw the first. They were actually. I thought they were actually quite well done. Quite good. One really.
But see, the most dislikable character on that whole show was Sheldon. So I wasn't going to watch a program all about him.
Well, no, I mean, what there was one bit of really good casting in Young Sheldon. Is that the actress that plays Sheldon's Mrs. Mum
was the daughter
of the actress that played the mum in
yeah. I was aware of that, but the thing is, Sheldon was my least favourite character in The Big Bang Theory, so I had no interest in watching anything about Sheldon's character.
The actress that plays Sheldon's mother when they're kids in Young Sheldon is the daughter of the actress that plays Sheldon's mother in The Big Bang Theory.
Oh.
It's the same as the Detectorists. See the one that plays Andy's wife and her mother. It's actually her mother. It's actually playing the part.
Well, there's another one, and there's I think it's the first Troll movie. It's but one of the only ones, few of those ones I've seen, where you've got June Lockhart from Lost in Space plays the old lady witch here. And at one point, she's suddenly I can't remember this one, but basically she turns into a younger version of herself, who is played by Anne Lockhart, June Lockhart's daughter. So again, she Anne Lockhart from Battlestar Galactica, Sheba from Battlestar Galactica, the original one, the proper one. I'm pretty sure her mum is.
You look at Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Amy Pond, the girl that played the young Amy Pond, is actually the niece of Karen Gillan.
Yeah, she's a niece or a cousin, something. Yeah.
Yes, they're cousins.
Yeah.
Cousins, is it? I thought it was niece, but so they're related. So they obviously have the look about them.
Yeah.
But there's times that happens. It's the same as Battlestar Galactica, when all the crews and all that become sick, so they have to bring in the old crews. And there's a crewman called Commander Gordon, who Buck turns out.
No, that's Buck Rogers, not Battlestar Galactica. You said Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, Buck Rogers. Yes. Oh God, the disgust that
he said to Commander Gordon that I've been doing this before you were born. He says, I don't think so. Played by Buster Crabbe.
Yeah, that
Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers.
That is the sort of
see, to me that's to me.
Oh, that was
good.
Oh yeah, that was.
I mean, in the past.
Yeah, that was a perfect in joke.
Yeah,
you wouldn't necessarily got that, but yeah, you've got
this. Commander Gordon, so he was Flash Gordon. and he was talking to Buck Rogers, and he's saying, "I've been doing this since before you were alive."
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. It's good. It's great. It really was a fantastic scene.
It was. It's
It really was.
Here, the like for instance, NCIS, and Kate turns to Gibbs and says,
Oh yes.
"What did Ducky look like when he was
When he
younger?"
was
He thinks and goes, "Ilya Kuryakin."
Yeah.
I thought, yes, perfect.
Oh, that was
It basically just he looked like his younger self.
Yeah.
I just thought things like that, to me, that's someone who's cleverly actually thought a simple question, something like that, and they've actually thought, let's bring it in. It's the same as in The Big Bang Theory. They mentioned Blossom at least once in it. So they did. And Amy turns around and says something along the lines of, "Didn't really like that program." And it's the in joke. It's just because she was Blossom.
Well, you look at probably the best episode of Stargate, and I like Stargate 200.
Was
where
the one Stargate Extreme.
Yeah, but where they're doing it, and where you've got Vala is proposing ideas basically for films that she's seen on TV.
Yes.
And one of them is quite clearly says that's Star Trek. That's and then she does one.
That's this. That's that. That's
and
this,
then she proposes one which is quite obviously Farscape, although very cleverly done with the way they turn the characters around. and
yes, because
my turn says
suggested in it because
but then Marty turns
in Farscape.
He turns around and says, "Nope, you got me. I don't know that one." That was fantastic. Superb in joke.
Yes, because it's basically when they do it right, it's really good. But nowadays they go nostalgia bait, and as if they say, "Oh, there's a guy who looked like, for instance, the Flash." There's a picture accordingly of Christopher Reeve's Superman, who's meant to be just standing there watching this, and then there's the Nicolas Cage Superman fighting a spider in one shot, and you're sitting there thinking, they're nostalgia bait, which means nothing, because that was about a movie that was proposed but never even shot, and it's just because you've seen him talking about it and him in the costume, so they're doing it nostalgia where it doesn't really count. It's like, for instance, if they're actually, there's this scene and there's a corridor and there's a load of stormtroopers or there's a load of rebels and this guy's with a cloak on and he just flies through them all, chopping them to pieces, and then he throws his hat back and it's Luke Skywalker or something. I mean, that's good nostalgia because you don't know what's coming up. It's just a case of a really cool scene. Then it throws back and you go, "Fuck, that's Luke Skywalker."
That was that was Mando season 2 when Mando season 2.
Like that.
I mean,
they can be done right, but it can be done in such a way that people go, "Don't care."
Well, the other one was June Lockhart again. Is in the movie Lost in Space.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that played Matt LeBlanc as Don's commander
did not see the Matt LeBlanc version.
well, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it didn't grab me. But
basically, it was it was a mediocre copy.
But the best bit of it, right, is Matt LeBlanc plays Dom. When Matt LeBlanc is being briefed by his boss is played by Mark Goddard.
Oh,
right? Huh. Okay. There were two female.
I loved Mark Goddard.
There were two reporters in a crowd. And Angela Cartwright.
Yeah.
And Will's school teacher is played by June Lockhart. And that I thought was
a way of bringing in characters in, whereas I can tell you another way where you bring a character in that's a complete and utter waste. Ghostbusters 2016. where they've got the
That's right.
original cast, which are complete and utter waste of time because their cameos are rubbish.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, there's two things. I mean, obviously, what they were doing in at Stargate and in Lost in Space, they were Lost in Space. They were paying homage to the original. Obviously, they weren't in it. You know, they weren't supposed to be the characters. They just had several of the surviving. In fact, oddly enough, the guy that played Dr. Smith, my brain just brain farted, was still alive at the time, and Billy Mooney, and neither of those were actually in.
Well, Billy Mooney's
Alan Rick, wasn't Alan Rickman?
probably still in his 60s,
Yeah.
pushing 70 tops.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know Bill Mooney, but I've said Bill Mooney, and I said the chap that played Dr. Smith. My brain's gone on him.
Yeah.
He was
Jonathan Harris. Thank you, Disaster Area.
Jonathan Harris was still alive at the time that film was made, and obviously so was Bill Mooney, and neither of those appeared in the Lost in Space movie. I'm not sure why. I would have thought that there was quite a good possibility for Bill Mooney to play one of the particular character in that. But I say they actually they weren't the same characters. They were just saying, look, homage to the original series. We've got some of the characters, the actors from that recognizable in it. That's it.
Do you know the worst one I ever heard about that type of thing? Remember, they were actually redoing the Munsters. It was called 13 Mockingbird Lane with Eddie Izzard in it, right?
Oh dear Lord!
No,
one of the characters.
Eddie Izzard was in the Munsters.
Yep.
How did I not see
one
this?
pilot, and it was absolute junk.
Not surprising.
Right, but you look at when they were doing the movies just prior to that, they were casting, right? Obviously Fred Ward had passed, but they had all the characters round the table, and they're going, "Oh, you look cool" and stuff like that. And it was all the original cast looking up. But see, when they were actually casting that, the one that played Grandpa was still alive, and he asked to play Grandpa. And do you know what they told him? He's meant to have been playing a 300-year-old vampire. Do you know what they told him? He was too old to play it. So he wanted to reprise his role as Grandpa, and they told him he was too old to play a 300-year-old vampire. And you're sitting there thinking, if you're going to relaunch it, have the original Grandpa playing himself again. But no, they wanted to recast. So what they did was they had him in a wee scene. But they did a 13 Mockingbird Lane, and it was absolute junk. So it was. I would not recommend it. It was bad.
That seems to be the thing, is that remakes, they very rarely understand what the attraction of the original was.
Yeah. See, they get it wrong. What their meaning is, we don't want to remake it. We want to reimagine it.
Yeah.
No. If it needs to be reimagined, then just create something new. You can base it on something. So, like, for instance, you could do a space opera based on this fight between the two great ancient aliens races. It could be inspired by Babylon 5, but it's not based on Babylon 5.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I've said this before. Going back, I mean, I look at Babylon 5, and I will praise Babylon 5 to the high heavens till the day I die. But
Hitchhiker's movie was crap as well, yeah.
Yeah. But there are aspects in that I can see going back, the Vorlons and the Shadows. If anybody has read Doc Smith's Lensman series, they're going to be going Origians and Adorians the first time they turn up.
But the thing is well,
But It's
you look at it, good against evil, Lord
Yeah.
of the Rings, Babylon 5, Wheel of Time, name a TV show, it's probably got good against evil, a fantasy one. Conan, good against evil. It's always been like that. It's just you look at any book series, fantasy, it's good against evil. And
yeah.
Babylon 5 is just taking it out, and it was a very good story within it. However, you could build, so it's a case of you could have it and people say, oh, that's just like Babylon 5. What you mean it's a good race against a bad race, and they're bringing all these people in to try and help them, they're manipulating this and they're doing this. You mean good against evil? You look at TV shows, books, movies, it's the basic premise.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying there's some things that I can see for I can see specific bits. I can see they've been this very similar idea. Also, then again, if you want to be like that, you've got for things like the War on Shadows, it said Lovecraft, the great old ones, cosmic high level. You know, those you can see those themes in those things. What I'm saying is, you know, you can see parallels where someone's take the same perhaps basic idea, and people have taken in the particular way.
Miranda, I totally agree. Don't want you Babylon 5 or Stargate.
Well, I think what we're getting with from what I've seen from the Babylon 5 trailer, it's going to be John Sheridan quantum leaping around the sliders.
Yeah, and that's what
it appears to be.
Off. That's I've heard about, and it's already put me off. So I think if I'm
okay, how long has Gary been in chat and he's finally made a joke?
He's not going to like that. He's made more than one.
Okay, he might have made more than one, but how many funny ones?
This was the best one.
Yes.
But
unfortunately,
there's just so many. The problem is everybody keeps saying it. They have got no new ideas, and because they've got no ideas, they just think, we'll just take that and change it. Nobody will notice, or we've got a built-in audience, so let's take that built-in audience and get rid of them. What's the point in actually taking something that's got a built-in audience, then turning around and saying, oh, see everything you liked, we're changing it, you're the fault. But they've got no imagination. Yet we can see TV shows, Sisu, bog standard Second World War movie, with a bit of John Wick thrown in there for good measure. Fun movie. Even if you go back a wee while, you had things like Boss Level, a computer game movie. That's all it was. In effect, they just did a Groundhog Day and shoved a bit of John Wick in there and made it a computer game version of just redoing the same day. And it worked. It was fun. Even crappy movies like The Tomorrow War, if you switch off your brain, it's a fun movie. It's a mediocre one. If you think about it, it makes zero sense. But for watching it and for entertainment, and the fact that it's an original movie, it worked. But
I think the problem is that a lot of Hollywood these days, or at least a lot of the money men, are risk averse. No, they don't want to take the risk of something, which is why they keep going for the same.
The problem is 90% of the people who are funding it, people are turning around and saying, it was very successful. Oh, is it? Here's money. They're basically not telling them the truth. They're just telling them that it's successful. Right, okay, show me the receipts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying is that they get the thing is this I think is why they're creatively bankrupt, because there's the messages in there for starters, but also there's the fact that they're not prepared. They're not prepared to to take much of a risk. It takes someone like Tom Cruise, who I've seen several times referred to as the last actor, as the last real movie
See,
star.
I don't like Tom Cruise. I think any of his movies are just do not like him as.
But no, I don't particularly. But what I'm saying is, it takes someone like Tom Cruise. I mean, even to do, some out of there like Maverick, and even Maverick was a sequel. But for these things, there's very few of them. It takes it takes Joker or something, to make it takes someone to be pretty much original. Although obviously that was based on the Batman. They don't seem to want to take the risk.
I never saw Joker. I saw bits of Joker, but I've never seen Joker. And do you know why?
I've not.
It's the same reason I have no interest in watching The Craze. It's the same reason I'm not, because it's the same reason I'm no interested in watching The Sopranos. Because you want me to actually watch a villains program and basically root for the villain. No. I want to root for the guy that's going to kick the shit out of the villain. I don't want to root for the villain. So watching a movie about the villain, no interest. So I've never watched The Joker. Don't care. I was aware the bits I saw, Keith Ledger did a fantastic job, but truthfully, don't care. It's the same idea as if I'm watching. Why would I watch The Sopranos? It's the same as I like the motorbike stuff. Sons of Anarchy came out, no interest, because I don't want to watch about a load of criminals just doing criminal things. I don't care. I just want to watch them all getting arrested and put in jail. Don't care about their backstory.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we know that we all know where you stand, and that's fine. I mean, I can understand that. I think that if they have backstories, it can be interesting. But what we're saying is, they don't seem to be. They seem to say, okay, this made money. There was an interview I saw. I can't remember where recently with Christopher Reeves, and it shows you how old it was. He still looked young. I mean, it must have been in the 70s, early 80s. And even then, he was saying that Hollywood is suffering from a disease called sequelitis. And the fact is, actually, it turns out he was complaining about Superman 4. But he was careful not to mention that particular movie until Michael Parkinson, I think it was, actually mentioned it. He's my last one. But even that far back, you see something that is successful, they jump on it. They want something that is going to guarantee. And I suspect it may even actually almost be a downward spiral. They want something that is they're going to have a guaranteed return on. So they take a movie that was made a lot of money. I think people were like that. They make another one, then they make another one, and they get less and less and less inventive because because unlike with say comics, I mean, yeah, the comics movies are in a state, but that's different reasons. That's what other things in there. But comic books, yeah, you've got comic books, for example, you've got a long sort of series. My actual biggest disappointment in many, many years is that Disney effed up the John Carter movie. Because if they'd actually done that right, they had a franchise there which is 12 books long. None of them are particularly big books. They could have put them in, they could have moved them into a couple, half a dozen movies or more. There's fan fiction based on the Bossum series. It's even referenced in the second League Extraordinary Gentlemen magazine comic graphic novel.
That movie was. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, no. The second. They only made the one movie, but the second comic starts on Mars, and on Mars you've got the H.G. Wells' Martians fighting against the Barsoomians with John Carter and another character called John Gulliver. No, called Gulliver Jones, who some of our audience may also recognise the name. I think it was only in one book, Gulliver Jones again. And what because of the way the extraordinary gentleman did it, you could have done it. I think I'm probably one of the few people who, being a fan of this, actually likes the way they call the John Carter movie finishes when it becomes John Carter of Mars, because it's a progression. But I fully understand why. What John Carter? What? Huh? If you're going to do it, call it a Princess of Mars. Is what the damn book was called.
But the problem is
the marketing of that was atrocious.
I'll give you an example with the naming conventions. John Carter is a movie, but because it was based on the John Carter from Mars series, people didn't recognise it.
Yeah, exactly. What I'm saying,
it'd be like doing a Wheel of Time series, but calling it The Great Hunt.
You mean
people going,
So I understand it.
What who know the series know what The Great Hunt is, but it's that type of thing. So to get it in, they have to say it's this. So, and that's where the problem is. They don't want to actually say, well, it's a progression, but people who are familiar with it don't care about the progression. You can have John Carter of Mars, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. Progression, but they call it John Carter and then finish, and then the next one will be John Carter Mars, next one, and it's that thing. So the people have no concept.
Yeah, I agree. What I'm saying is, I mean, no, what they should have done, I slightly disagree with Gary there. The first one should have been called The Princess of Mars, because that's basic. Because no. There's a reason. Warlord of Mars. It was the third book in the series, and it was also what I think Marvel and DC both did John Carter series. One of them was called John Carter of Mars, I think, and one of them was called Warlord of Mars. But the first one should have been called The Princess of Mars. That's what the first book was called. That is, in fact, the first book.
I thought you were just talking in reaction to Warlord, and you put Princess in instead. My bad.
No, that's okay. No, that's fine. That's okay. I say because if you think about the film, if you've seen the film, a Princess of Mars would fit the film. But it's going to interest. It tells you it's about something set on Mars. For starters, it gives you these things. So, and as I say, I mean, it's effectively, I think, pretty much the first two books in the series, actually. No, Warlord is third. But the reason I personally like that John Carter, then at the end of it, it comes in. The end of it is thoroughly fan servicey, I think, on in a way, in that people don't know Mars, the colonist of Mars called Mars Barsoom, and at the very end there's the magic MacGuffin, which is exactly the same as from the books, if I remember correctly. They just changed slightly some of the background, and he starts on it, and he goes back, and his last word is Barsoom, and he's transported back to Mars, which is how the story ends. So he starts off, he gets transported to Mars accidentally. He starts off, Gary, you're getting worse, aren't you? And I didn't think that was possible. He starts off, basically, he spends most of his time wanting to get back home, right? He does fall in love with the eponymous princess, Deja Thoris, and etc. Different, done very clever. I mean, the book, considering the book was written in the 1910s, 1920, 1918 or something, I think. There's some really clever little sociological commentaries in there. But he spends most of his time wanting to get back to Earth. He gets back to Earth, and he realizes, of course, character development, something we don't get these days. He realizes, no, he wants to be back there with her. So at the end of it, he starts off as being John Carter of Earth. He starts off being John Carter At the end of the film, he goes back and he becomes John Carter of Mars. And that's why, for me, knowing the way the story goes, that's why it works for me. But I agree with what PJ said, and I agree with Gary. It was atrocious. The marketing was naff on, was crap on that one, and the naming for normie audience who don't know was terrible. It was not a good. Who's John Carter? Why do we care about this? Hold on a second. Some people might be expecting it to be a Michael Caine movie, you know. See, you don't know, Gary.
The aspect of it, if it's got bad writing, doesn't matter how well the thing. Like, for instance, The Witcher, Blood Origin. They called it The Witcher, Blood Origin rather than just Blood Origin because they wanted to tie it to The Witcher. Didn't really help it because it was crap.
Yeah, but I don't see. I did. I really liked the John Carter movie, and if it had taken off,
I thought it was okay. I didn't think. I thought it was just as a one-off because I had no idea. I've never read the book.
Right.
It was okay. It was okay. It's something you could switch on, and it was entertaining. That's all you want from a movie. But it wasn't. To me, it wasn't the greatest. The CGI was quite good.
Not only that, but subsequent novels feature their son, his and Deja Torres' son, and then their daughter. And it's not only so they had the potential. I can, and to be quite honest, as live action, and okay, yeah, we know what these days. Live action, the CGI special effects didn't exist much before the film was made.
Yeah,
you know, the same reason that Lucas didn't make that Lucas's first Star Wars trilogy wasn't what we now call the prequel trilogy, even though that's the first one he imagined. He did, I did, but he didn't.
I saw the first
to make them, but he was aware that the CGI and effects weren't up to all the aliens who are going to be in that one. So we got, but similar story. I can imagine see why they wait that long to do it. But did you know? Okay, connections here. Talking about multiverse, or not multiverses, about connected worlds and series, for example. John Carter of Mars, Princess of Mars was the first book by a gentleman named Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Oh yeah,
he created.
The books. I know the name of the author, obviously.
He created another character you might never have heard of called Zarpan, Tarpan, something like that. Something about some guy that lives in the jungle.
Some guy hanging out with monkeys.
Yeah, exactly.
And half-naked girls.
He also created books.
That one movie they're never going to re-swap.
Yeah.
What was that, PJ? I didn't hear you. I'm still not hearing you very well.
I said that at least that's one movie they're never going to re-swap.
No, would not go over well.
But Edgar Rice Burroughs, I don't think he ever I'm not sure he ever specifically tied Tarzan and John Carter together partly because in fact in the books the John Carter bit has a time slip in it as well. He goes back in time to Mars when it was more habitable. But also, he also wrote a series of books which gave Doug McClure a career. He wrote the Pelusiadar novels at the Earth's Core, etc. And Tarzan goes to the Earth's Core. Edgar Rice Burroughs was a prolific author. He had I would say Tarzan was probably, I think there were more Tarzan books than anything else. There were 12 John Carter books, although at least one of those is a 2-in-1, so 13 stories, if you like. I say he wrote the Pelusiadar ones, the At the Earth's Core ones. Good night, Miranda. He wrote 7 of those, and he wrote other adventure novels, that adventure genre as well, similar to Conan Doyle's Challenger series, The Lost World and the rest of it.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I think Carter Burroughs also put stuff in the Wild West. He was a prolific author, and that's why I say he is one of the ones, because of when he was writing. He's one of the ones I would say you almost can't see a modern SF movie of particular genres without seeing his influence. The same for Doc Smith, another one who was writing in the early part of the 20th century. Jules Verne, obviously, Conan Doyle for some things. Yeah, I said Jules Verne, didn't I?
Yep.
There's a few of them which I think are grandparents, godfathers, even, and in the of that they did it first, and so much of it goes on from there. So that's why I was really disappointed when Disney effed up with John Carter. It had the potential to be, I think, a really good series. And they could have gone on from that and tied back into. I say they could have gone on for that one. We could add some more Tarzan. I mean, if you're going to go to Edgar Rice Burroughs, you've got to go to Tarzan. And from that, you could have gone on to, as I say, the Earth's got so much stuff they could have done.
Yeah.
But then again, please, that was Disney back when it was reasonably good. Unlike now, when apparently I report that every single that Disney has not had a successful movie in the last couple of years.
No,
Guardians apparently is considered a success because it just about broke even. Everything else, they reckon, has lost money.
well, because it's all crap.
Yeah, and the Disney Plus stuff isn't doing well either, apparently, because for exactly the same reason.
Well, it's funny with Disney Plus. I don't even have a subscription to it. One friend of mine does, and she's given the password to a ton of people. And she's allowed to, because it's like we're all on there under separate people, and we each have our own little libraries. Unlike Netflix, which is barring people from sharing passwords, Disney Plus is allowing it. And I've watched The Mandalorian, and I've watched a couple of other, Pixar movies on there, but I haven't watched much of anything else. Most of it's just stuff I don't care about.
Well, I was saying to someone, I think earlier on the other day, this is something I don't get with the streaming model.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't quite understand why it's supposed to be so good, because they got fine, it's a regular income, it's a regular subscription model if people actually have a subscription and they stay subscribed month after month after month. They've supposedly lost a humongous number of subscriptions, and they've got the habit of dropping things in one go as well. So people are going to sign up for months, watch what they want, and if they're interested in it, stay watching, and if not, watch a couple of them and drop the subscriptions again. I mean, I don't see how they can make that much money from it.
And the majority, it's the same idea right across the board with subscriptions, not prescriptions.
Yeah.
They want people to forget they're doing it and just leave it.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. That's why they get you signed up for 30 days. You watch it, then you forget about it. And it just pays and pays and pays and pays. That's what they expect people to do. They want you to forget about it.
Yeah. There was something else I was thinking earlier on that actually completely and utterly unconnected, and we've managed to avoid the subject so far because Roman's not here, but tough if he's not here. Some of the
Doctor Who.
How did you guess? No, it's something that was mentioned earlier on Blues Channel. They're talking about Dr. Caruso that actually just triggered a train of thought in me. The idea of multi-doctor stories, they've established it, and they specifically made a comment of it on Day of the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of Day of the Doctor, you've got John Hurt and David Tennant both turn around and say, "I won't remember this, will I?" No,
Right.
because it's already been established that the latest Doctor, that the effectively the presence of a Doctor from their future means they won't be able to remember it. Only the one can remember it. Fine, no problem. So the only one that remembers it is Matt Smith, except for the fact that the council says, well, I think the council says, I did something along the lines of, I didn't know when I had it, all 12 of them. And the general turned and says, no, sir, all 13. Which means for the entire bit of sending Gallifrey back into the bubble, the latest incarnation of the Doctor was Peter Capaldi. Ignore
Which
what
means
follows
that
after
the
Capaldi.
War Doctor is canon.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it is. I mean, if you're following that one, it's kind of. But what I'm saying is, it means that if Capaldi's there, Matt Smith cannot remember it because there's a version after.
Got
it's
it.
an incarnation after Matt Smith who can't actually.
That's why I hated when the newer stuff, especially when they actually started doing things that said things like fixed point in time.
Right.
Don't care. I don't want a fixed point in time. I want them to go back and do stuff. Fair enough, not stuff big like doing things like the what was the one? The City of Fear. It's about the French Revolution. They didn't play big parts in it. It was just basically a wee bit, or they did the bit about Rome, or they did a bit about the Aztecs. I didn't want the big parts. I just wanted to see they were on the outskirts. All this fixed point in time pish, I didn't care. And then also the fact is, yes, we've met the 4 Doctors before, but we don't remember it. It's only the most recent one. Pish. Because they had the 5 Doctors, they never actually mentioned it. They just basically, it was, yeah.
It was. I could.
It happened in a part when you weren't watching the 3rd Doctor when he met the 4th Doctor and the 5th Doctor, because it was just out with the schedule. So that's the way I look at it, is it happened in between the 2 stories. So he doesn't mention this previous story when he's doing a new story. He doesn't turn around and say, yes, this was just like the Daleks last week. You know what I mean? It basically, it was just a story. So the fact is, the 5 Doctors, the 5 Doctors probably remember it, but it's just something that happens. So it'll happen when it happens. They don't need to actually think about it.
Well, remember in Time Crash, Peter Capaldi. I mean, not Peter Capaldi. What am I saying? Peter Davison and David Tennant. David Tennant says, I remember seeing me doing it while you were. It was confusing as all hell.
Yeah, but the fact is,
I remember this conversation from your point of view.
Way of talking about it, whereas I prefer the classic way, whereas it's just a case of the story was there. They didn't need to actually go and say, "You for forget."
I suppose the point is, I can see why the idea was brought in, because otherwise it means the Doctor is going to have knowledge of future events, and it's going to mean he's already going to be prepared for what happens. There are problems, logical problems, which the sort of fans of Doctor Who attract are going to notice when you say, okay, but if he knew that was going to happen. Prime example of where that is done, where that is what Stargate again, 1969. Right? They go back in time. Hammond leaves a note for his younger self. How did he know that was going to happen? Because he remembered it happening, his younger self. He didn't know when it was going to happen, but he remembered Samantha Carter having an injured hand. She comes back with an injured hand. He now knows what's going to happen next. They worked at him well. So you've got a problem, I think, with saying if you're going to go and see something in the future, how do you account for the fact that future knowledge does not affect your character?
Yeah, but it also doesn't work for the simple fact is they had companions with them. I'd be like turning around and Sarah Jane pops up and
Yes,
Doctor turns around and says, "Oh, there's my
That's
old self." She
Yeah.
say, "Uh-huh. I was with him, and when you met him, and what you talking about? You can't remember. How can I?" So basically, a human can remember it, but a Time Lord can't.
yeah, see, yeah.
But it's the
That's fun. I
same
hadn't even thought of that.
that the
Yeah.
companion is not a regenerated person. It's still the exact same person, unregenerated. So it happened in their own personal same person time stream. But it's interesting because in Big Finish, Charlie Pollard mostly travels with the 8th Doctor, but she's got a couple of stories with the 6th Doctor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they do.
And she realizes that she can't tell him what happens in the future.
Well, there's one of the last. They did the same thing again with River Song, and they did an entire couple of 3 box sets before I got really bored with it.
I
Where
haven't
they
listened
basically
to River
So
Song
they never
stories.
brought character
They-
that was initially interesting. Then it got boring.
Yeah.
The only
Well,
River Song stories I've heard are the ones with Captain Jack and the ones with the 10th Doctor.
I don't think I've listened to one of those. When they started doing her own, there's one where
the
she ends up with
diaries?
Unit. Yeah, the diaries. The first one couple of okay, but then they bring her back. But then they got to the point of bringing her back with all the Doctors. So every time she had to avoid spoilers, and it got
Right.
so they were having to do so contrived.
In the TV show, she was interesting, and even the spoilers
Yeah.
free to into that, it was okay, but every time she came back, it got more annoying and more annoying.
No,
and
I
more
get
annoying
it.
And
Yeah.
more annoying.
And I
Because
like the character, but I get it.
initially she was really good, but she just got so annoying.
Yeah.
It's a case of, really, you're going to do this. I'm going to give you my catchphrase because I can't tell you. So spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Heck off. Turn around and say, can't tell you because if I tell you, then you'll remember it and it'll change it. Instead of doing that, and just giving it the spoilers.
It's killing me.
It's the
that,
same idea as certain phrases in the new show.
mhm.
I absolutely despise.
Like fixed point in time.
Fixed point in time, timey-wimey.
Well, I'm trying to remember, did any of the classic Doctors actually have catchphrases?
No, I don't think so.
No, but people always associated them with catchphrases. Jelly baby,
Yeah.
or reverse
point.
polarity in the neutron flow.
Only ever said in 2 episodes, I believe, but yeah.
Yeah, but so people basically just put them down to that. So because
Yeah.
Tom always had jelly babies, anytime he went in his pocket, jelly baby, it was no as if it was a catchphrase. It was just
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, where as opposed to you got Geronimo or Alan Z or whatever.
exactly.
Where that's what I'm saying.
Or my most hated phrase is timey-wimey.
Yeah.
He really only said that once.
But it's just not. They basically just.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Peter Harrington, my giddy aunt.
Aye, Pat.
Yep, Pat Trout, my giddy aunt.
Mm-hmm.
Did he? Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you,
But
Peter.
See, to me, that was just. It was the. To me, that was not a catchphrase. That was just an expression of the time it was. It was recorded.
Yeah.
Oh my giddy aunt. You know what I mean? So I didn't see it as a catchphrase, but he would say it occasionally here and there. But
it's become identical. But it's become.
It has become later on. It's become
affiliated with the second Doctor.
Yeah. Of the neutron flow for John.
I mean, I think there's.
What I think he only said it once, maybe twice.
Yeah, I believe it was said once.
Well,
but yeah,
I know I've told you guys this. I'm pretty sure I did. A couple of years ago, I had a workman in the house doing something with an electrical panel. And I swear, as God is my witness, he was on the phone with his technical people at the office. And he said, I need to reverse the polarity. And in my head, I said, of the neutron flow. But I didn't say it out loud because he would not have understood.
You assume he would not have understood.
He
may
was
have
kind
been-
of young. He might not have understood.
Yeah, but he might be a big geek. You never know.
I know, but I had a good giggle about that.
Yeah, but it is the same idea. I dislike it. It's one of the expressions I hate. And even when somebody's talking about something, they'll say, "Oh, it's timey-wimey." Ah!
I thought it was amusing given the context, in the original
It
context
may
when it was
have been
originally
amusing as
said.
if it was one off, but it's constantly referred to it. And
No, I
people
get
say,
it.
If now
I
it's
get
the
it.
case, the doctor would try and give an explanation. Like, for instance, "Doctor, how come it's bigger in the inside?" And they say, "Right, see these two.
Mhm.
What one's the biggest one?" "That one."
Right.
So I put it over there. "Now, what one's the biggest one?" She says, "That one, but that one, but it's further away." Exactly. So he was trying to explain it,
Right.
but it was, even though it was a ridiculous explanation, he was trying to explain it as simple as possible for someone who could not understand it. But he didn't ever turn around to Leila and go, "Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey." Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's just one of those expressions that it's taken the doctor and made it ridiculous. The doctor is no longer trying to explain to people who have not got the technical ability to understand something. He just goes, "Oh, wibbly wobbly."
Well,
So you're that thick, I can say anything and you'll go.
I think they've forgotten these days again. Certainly,
Toy cow, far away. Toy cow, far away.
So, I mean, certainly we were talking again on the Galactic Galaxy, and they're talking about Clara, and I said, but I mean, I think they seem
Not
to
a boy. I don't get her.
I don't particularly. I mean, she was she was an attractive young lady. Clara Jenna Coleman was quite an attractive young lady, and she wore some nice clothes. Potter, but as a character, well, depending on which one you're talking,
I'll give her that.
Yeah, depending. But
she had the River Song effect. She initially started off as an okay character, and then got too annoying.
Yeah. Well, apparently they couldn't decide. She couldn't decide if we were going to go. But no. What I was going to say was they've forgotten what the purpose of the companion is. Within
us.
Yes, the companion is us. The companion is the point of view character. So the companion is the one who asks the questions. The companion can come on Earth and save the day, but the companion is the one who the doctor has to explain the thing to.
The companion is the one that gets the info dump that we need.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than the one that turns around and
why are you doing that? Well, you see, if I put these two together, it'll set off that charge and it'll destroy this whole world. Have I got the power to destroy a race? So he's basically just been given information to the audience why he's standing there with these two and not touch them together.
Look who's joined us.
All right, Alec.
Yeah.
Hello.
What we're going to do before you even open your mouth, which is too late, is
Pick of the week.
We didn't just keep it until you came in, honestly.
I thought for a minute there you just muted him.
Honey.
As if I would just mute him. I would bounce him, but he can bring himself back.
Bye. No, when I'm not one.
Yeah. So, has anybody got anything fun? I've got two things that
I got nothing.
I'm overly pleased about.
What are you talking about? I've got some gifts for.
I know I'm expecting something in the post, but as of right now, I got nothing.
Yes, it's in here.
Oh, which reminds me, Alex, I found something that I think you will get a real kick out of.
A
pair of shoes.
Tacky as all get out, but it's fun.
Okay, all right.
Seriously tacky, but fun.
Well, I went on a little trip on Monday. Had a day out, which I needed, and I went to a gift shop, lovely place, and I got some items. Julie, yours is still in the post because two of those items are not there anymore.
Oh,
so they're on their way to you, Julie.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet.
Well, you got the full set now.
Yay. Very
So,
exciting.
right. I know Wendy's not here tonight, but I got Wendy and Darren this. It's cat related, so I've got them
Oh,
this and a cat.
they do love their cats.
Yes, yeah. So I'm hoping they'll get a kick out of it once I've packed it up and, made sure it's all secure in the box. But PJ, I accidentally picked up two of these two, but I said give the next one to a lucky child or something. They asked if I wanted a refund. I went, nah, leave it. So PJ, what I've got you is this.
Oh, superb.
That'll be coming to you very soon.
It'll take me about 14 hours.
It,
should be
well,
fun.
oh yeah, I'm just opening it up for a minute. So there we go. So if you just look inside, there we go.
That should be fun.
Oh, it's a Meccano one.
Yeah, well, not really Meccano, but
Oh, wow. Okay.
and the thing is, I would like to see. I'm demanding you, PJ, to build it live on air.
Nah, with this, that's something I'll need to record in stages.
Yeah, but I would love to see you finish it live on air.
Right, we'll see. We'll see how small the bits are, because remember, I've got a dodgy claw.
I know you have. But you'll be getting that soon anyway.
Some kid.
But overall, yeah, that's my journey out. I had a lovely time. I talked to some very nice people and that. I will be going back in the future. However, I'm going to be. It's just back to reality for me now. So
Yeah. I know that feeling.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't get to go on holiday until September. Take me.
yeah.
So I've got a couple of wee bits and pieces. First thing is a couple of DVDs. Some of them are actually okay. Like for instance, the Kingsman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
So I picked that
I
one
never
up.
got around to seeing that. Was it good?
It is actually not bad. I quite enjoyed that one. The second one I didn't like as much, but this one was really good.
Well, that's the first one, is it?
Uh-huh. The Kingsman, the Secret Service, that's when they basically, that's the first one. And then I picked up another Wallow collection.
Very
This
nice.
has basically got Murder in Mesopotamia. So picked up that because I've got a couple of these now, and two really old classic movies I picked up.
Good grief.
Wow. Oh, what a great movie.
Yeah, isn't it?
What a great movie.
That master. Right. So looking forward to that. And I picked up my mum's favourite. I could not resist it when I saw it.
Oh, my dad's favorite movie. Every single time it was on television, Dad
Ah,
used to watch
play
it.
it again, Sam.
Which they never actually said.
Yeah,
Yep.
true.
Play
they
it,
never
Sam.
played
You
it,
played
Sam.
it for her, and I played it for me.
Yeah, it's the same as it was never Beam Me Up, Scotty.
Right.
And it was You Dirty Rat is another one that was never said.
I'm gonna have to watch some. I'm mildly convinced. I'm reasonably certain that they did say "Beam Me Up, Scotty" in the animated series.
Scotty
I was-
could came aboard or stuff like that,
Yeah,
but he never
yeah.
once
No,
said,
not in the original series, but I've got a feeling that in the
Yeah,
animated series
would-
they
yeah,
did.
he would
But
have
I
done
was
it
I was
before.
I was watching a guy called Sam Fine Reviews. Sam Fine Reviews, he's an Aussie doing it, and he was doing reviews. He's been a lot of Star Trek ones, and he was saying that it was never said on TV. Now, whether he's not counting the animated movies, I don't know. Which means, unfortunately, oh dear, how sad! I'm just going to have to go and watch the animated Star Trek series again. What a shame.
Yep.
You
So there you go, and then I've got two toys. These are toys that I've never had in my collection, and could not resist them. Funko.
Ah, Crockett and Tubbs. Now you got the theme tune running through my head.
Good lord.
I could not see when I saw that. I could not resist it. It's the classic Don Johnson one. It is superb. Crockett and Tubbs. So can you
I
remember
can feel it
Tubbs?
coming in the air tonight.
Who played
Sorry.
Tubbs? No, no, Don Johnson. Who played Tubbs? Anyone remember his name?
Can't remember.
But I picked that up and I just could not resist it. It's just such a nice wee set, the two of them. Don Johnson one just giving it the badge. Flashing the badge. It's just a cool wee set, so it's nothing I've got anything to do with it, but I could not resist it.
Oh
Got it.
my God, I didn't realize they made a Crockett and Tubbs.
Neither did I. As soon as I saw it, I thought, I'm having that.
Oh, that's hilarious. Where'd you get it?
Remember that excess I was telling you about, the shop
Yeah.
that basically buys all the excess stuff and they sell it fairly inexpensive? Got it there.
Huh.
Yeah.
And I bought another figure. It's another figure which it's not something I would have had in my collection, which I did like the
What
movies.
is that one?
Wow.
Ah.
Very cool.
And it just a Bruce Lee
Hmm.
action figure.
Is that Game of Death?
Yep.
Nice.
The nunchucks, the
It
stick.
comes with all the equipment.
Yep.
You're on mute, PJ.
I'm on mute.
Yeah, we couldn't hear a word.
Mate, it's this bloody mic. I think it's messing me around. So it's got hands, so it's got fists and stuff like that. So you can either have them holding stuff or you can have them in a fighting stance.
Wow.
So that is just so cool. I could not resist it. Same idea. It's not something I like. I like the movies, but but I could not resist it. It just looked cool because even the nunchucks. Look at the nunchucks up the top corner. They've
Wow.
got clear on it, so it's giving the impression of speed. You just see the wee flare behind it.
Oh.
So you can actually have them flying it, and it's basically got a wee bit of plastic on it to give it the impression that it's flying through the air. So that was my two toys, Bruce Lee and Crockett and Tubbs. Picked them up last week, and I could not resist them. They were just superb. So that's what I picked up. And when I was out today, I was showing behind the screen. I picked up a weird thing in the middle of a field full of sheep. 4 inches underground. I found that.
Ah.
A spigot for a soda in the middle of a field. Based on the name on it, the company was between 1858 and 1930. But that same model has been used in other glass companies since 1720 something. So it was. So it's a really old one, but in a
So
field. Basically.
So the design is older than the United States.
Yes.
Wow.
Thanks for reminding us.
Yeah, but I mean, I was just looking at it just basically, and I was showing earlier on. It's just, I'll dig it out.
That
Right. So
that's
this,
not older than the United States. It's from the early 20th century.
right,
No,
this
so
one,
the design. The design has
Oh.
been around since 1720.
right, this one is from a bottle which is 1729.
Well, there were people living here. There
Yeah,
actually were British people living here.
That's why I care for the United States, because the
Oh,
United
okay,
States
got it.
exists since
Got
1720.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's the one I found,
Wow.
and that's the
Right.
one from a 1729 bottle.
Wow.
Very cool.
And it's just one of those things that I dug it up and I'm sitting there thinking, what have the sheep been up to that they've got a soda siphon?
It's tempting to wonder how they compressed
A bit more
anything.
soda in my whiskey, James.
Funny how they carbonized something in the 1720s, though. But wow,
Must have been a good year.
But yeah, it's really weird. It's just when I came across it, it's just in the company I found the information about is Antique Soda Siphon Robert Carruthers Dumfries, which is etched on it. Is where is the date on it? Oh, it's classed as an antique. 1860 to 1930s they sold them. So they did. Because that's the exact same one. Right, that's the exact same one from the same company, but it's got a different bit on it. That's the exact same one as the one I've got. And as you can see, identical. And that's the same company. It's doing the exact same one, but it's slightly different design on the name. So depends when it did. But that was my pick. I picked that up and I was over the moon's happy. So this week I've been happy with my toys, my DVDs, and my metal detecting thing. But apart from that, I've got to do a video for it which is to be uploaded for either next week or the week after. So I'm getting a bit behind and everything. Busy. Oh. So what you up to the rest of the week?
I've been reading. I just finished a book about the Scopes monkey trial called Trial of the Century, which was really good.
Never even heard of that.
Okay. Back in the 1920s, there were laws passed in in a couple of states in the U.S. about whether or not you could teach Darwinism. And in Tennessee, in 1925, they decided to challenge the law.
Yeah, I remember it now.
And so this book called Trial of the Century is about the trial.
I remember it now. I didn't
And
realize.
it's really, I mean, I know what happened, but I'd never read as much detail about the actual questioning of the witnesses. And I never heard that the judge prohibited the defense from, allowing witnesses. The defense had a whole slew of scientific witnesses, and
I remember that from the film. Yeah.
Right. Well, the book, I mean, the film obviously takes some literary license. Like, for example, William Jennings Bryan doesn't die of apoplexy. He does die 5 days later, but he dies in his sleep.
Oh, wow.
So it's not really quite the same thing, but the book is just fascinating. I really liked it, and I've spent.
The one thing I got from the film, of course, is that if the guy had actually been married, he could just got his wife to wiggle her nose and magicked everything away.
Ha ha ha. But anyway, when it's funny because when you're talking before about writing, I was listening to this book. And it reminded me of how a lot of people out there don't consider audiobooks to be actually reading a book. But if you think about how, in terms of human civilization, how recently we've had written books. I mean, Jane Austen read her books to people.
Yeah.
Anthony Trollope and Charles Dickens, people waited to get the books on coming off the ship, and there were so few of them that they read them to each other.
Yeah.
So audiobooks are just as valid as printed books.
Oh yeah, I'm never sure because I mean, as with reading a book, everything takes place in your head,
right,
rather than in front of your eyes, which it does on TV or play. So same with an audio play. The only difference is an audio play doesn't give you stage directions, whereas a book effectively gives you stage directions, I suppose. It
Right.
tells you what's going on, doesn't it? But yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's still a book. You're just consuming it in a different.
You're just having
You're just
somebody
getting-
read it to you. You're
Yeah.
still absorbing the book.
Yeah.
The only problem is if there's footnotes in it, you're not getting the footnotes.
Yes, I'm an avid.
PJ, I can't hear you.
You're very quiet again, mate.
I'm an avid audiobook reader.
Yeah.
So and I class it as reading because it's somebody reading it to me. And it's definitely my mic must be on the fritz because this happens quite regularly.
Yeah, I had
You
never
need any help, PJ?
I've got one.
I'd never gotten into audiobooks, but I started with a trial Audible subscription, and now I love it.
Well, I started off. I used to listen to the radio when I was driving. Most of what I was driving was local to me, and I used to listen to a station called Capital Gold, which basically was a classic it was an oldies station. Then I started driving a couple times. I drove to Wales, and I ended up, because that was well outside, I ended up listening to Radio 2, which was a non-pop station. Then I discovered audiobooks, and more to the point, I discovered the teaching company and the great courses.
See, I did I tell you the last time? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Right, I've changed the mic around. Right, but I started Audible in 2008, and I've been using it weekly subscription since 2008. So I love it. And I've got Audible books as well as the hardbacks of the books, and when it comes down to it, it's easier just shoving on the audiobook. Somebody can read it to me.
Well, I'm in the car.
I'm in the car every day.
A minimum of half an hour to get to work. A minimum.
I'm an hour to get to work and an hour home, so I'm at least 2 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Right.
So that is 10 hours of audiobooks.
Exactly. You can hear. I mean, I can read more through Audible than I sometimes can in a physical book. So yeah, I've been listening to. I mean, I listen to a lot of Big Finish. I mean, I know there's some people who don't like Big Finish because they have trouble picturing everything, and I don't.
No, see, that's the thing. Imagination is great. You do not need to actually see it to imagine it.
Right.
I used to love the Bernard Cornwell books, right? And I listened to them on tape. I used to get them from the library on tape.
Oh God, I remember them on tape.
Yeah. So when I first saw Sharp on the TV, the one that played
I love Sharp.
The one that played Harper was which should have been playing Sharp, because in my head that's what Sharp looked like.
Oh, interesting.
And so basically the descriptions of the characters had an image in there. If it's described well, you can imagine it happening. So that's why when you see a movie of a book, people go, because in their head the story's built up by the description of the author, but not so 10 people can read the same description and they've all got different ideas up there.
Right. I recently listened to I'm sure they did this because even in the early 60s, a lot of people in Britain didn't have televisions. Because I listened to an audio of The Celestial Toymaker, and it was definitely adapted for audio. Because I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Peter Purvis. Okay, Purvis. I wasn't sure how to pronounce it. I've only seen it.
Purvis are slightly different over here.
Okay. Yeah, I know it is here too, but I wasn't sure how he pronounced it. But anyway, he was the narrator, but they also had, it was William Hartnell being the doctor, and Peter being Stephen and the woman who played Zoe, I'm not Zoe, Dodo playing Dodo. So it was actually the TV show, but it was adapted for audio.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you know
And it
why
was
a lot of
really good.
you know why a lot of the missing stories, when you see them somewhere on a disc or something like that, they're basically got telly snaps.
Mhm.
And it's because when people were recording them, they would get a tape recorder and go and put the mic against the speaker. So they would.
No,
Yeah.
am I the only one on camera?
Say again?
Am I the only one on camera?
No.
Ah.
So
You were a
basically,
second,
the thing is, so people, when they would record it in what they had, and it was never recorded in anything other than audio. So, and people would listen to it back, and it was as good on audio as it was in video. I'll give you the best example I can think of something fairly modern, fairly as in about 20 years ago. Blackadder. You listen to Blackadder after, and you watch Blackadder. It's as funny if you're listening to it on a radio show or an audio. It is as funny. So I used to I would put Blackadder on in the background, even if I couldn't see the screen, and work away, because it's so funny that you do not need to physically see it.
A lot of it's not physical humor, yeah.
And not, it's not like even the physical humor. What starts with "come here" and ends in "ouch"? I don't know. Come here. Ouch. But the thing is, you do not need to see that to know what's happened.
Yeah.
And it's that type of thing. So audio works so well because there was a lot of it, even though it was visually funny, like sticking two pencils up his nose and the pants on his head and saying, "Woo!" The fact that he described it, the fact that he described it, you didn't need to see it because he already set the picture.
Funny enough, I was watching the unaired pilot of Blackadder earlier.
Really?
Oh,
I
yes.
haven't seen that.
Yes, it's how can I put it? It's got a lot of humorism of Blackadder 2.
Because Blackadder 1 was not as funny as Blackadder.
Did you see the interview with Rowan Atkinson with Terry Wogan?
No.
Was it Terry Wogan? It was Terry Wogan. He was talking about the season 2, and he basically says, didn't really like season 1. It was not as funny.
It wasn't.
There was funny bits in it, but it's not as funny. He says, what made the difference? He says, I'm not involved.
Yeah. I say because
I'm not involved. It's
he wrote season 1, didn't he? And
so he
I think Ben Elton
says, I made it less funny. He basically said,
I think Ben Elton took over for season 2.
Yeah,
onwards?
it was,
yes.
Yeah, but that's what he said. He said, and he says, what makes it more funny? He says, I stepped back. In effect, Rowan Atkinson saying, I made it less funny when I was involved.
I think the one thing that made Blackadder series 1 was Brian Blessed not keeping his mouth shut.
Well, yes!
Yeah.
Brian Blessed!
So powerful.
It basically, it also, I think, that only succeeded is because they changed the Baldric and the Blackadder characters around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because Baldric being the brains of the operation, if that had continued, I don't think after season 2 it would have worked. It would have gone anywhere.
Well,
and Edwin being the dummy weedy thing. Because
well, funny enough, watching the unaired pilots, Baldric was completely thick and Blackadder was very, evil and cunning, But Tony Robinson wasn't in the unaired pilot.
Oh.
Surely, darling, you don't mean that.
No, they had someone else, but the guy who was playing Baldric, I think he had a raw deal. Because Tony Robinson,
look for this.
Yeah, Tony Robinson couldn't play Baldric in the unaired pilot because he wasn't available.
Oh.
So then they did series 1 that Tony Robson came on, and
The rest
It-
is history.
yes,
Well,
that's true.
the other thing is that if I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but series 1,
Hmm.
this is a medievalist here talking. Series 1 actually took place in a time that didn't really exist. They
Yes.
inserted it in, whereas
course.
series 2, 3, and 4
Mhm.
they shifted it a little bit because partly because they shifted it that Blackadder was no longer royalty.
Mhm.
They actually could put that in places where their characters weren't supposed to be characters who had actually existed.
Yeah.
Whereas in the original one, they said it because they said it sometime towards the end of the Wars of the Roses.
Yeah, because Richard III had his head cut off accidentally by Edmund.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And Richard IV took over.
no, Brian took over.
Wasn't it Richard IV?
Yeah, but I call him Brian still.
Oh, okay.
Because it's what? Brian Blessed playing Brian Blessed, isn't it?
Oh, well, Brian Blessed always plays Brian Blessed.
Yeah, so I just call him Brian.
Even in iClav's divs.
Yes. I recently finished rewatching that.
George Gordon's alive.
I need to rewatch that. So many things I need to rewatch, but I just don't have time.
That's the problem,
was-
basically. And the problem is as well, you've got so much you want to watch, and then you say, I can just rewatch that thing that I watched 2 months ago.
still have DVDs.
Really?
I still have DVDs and Blu-rays in shrink wrap because I haven't watched them yet.
Yeah,
I've got the same. I'm the same. I've got a load of stuff I want to watch. And what did I do? I rewatched The Detectorists, and now I'm rewatching. I rewatched Father Brown, and now I'm rewatching Hogan's Heroes.
I haven't watched Father Brown yet. But I agree with you what you said before. I like Sister Boniface better.
Yeah, I think on hindsight, because when I first watched Sister Boniface, there was parts of it that really annoyed me. But then I watched season 9 and 10 of Father Brown, and I thought, it's a wee bit over the top. The acting just seems to be out there. And I think Sister Boniface is actually better than
I watched some of Father Brown, and I went back, and having watched the first season of Sister Boniface, I then got hold of it. I watched the episode of Father Brown where she's introduced. But unfortunately, my problem isn't that I've got lots of things I want to watch. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, I made the mistake of buying from GOG.com the updated version and the entire Bard's Tale trilogy. I've been playing that a lot because it was
discovered a new series to me. I mean, you guys might have seen it, but it's new to me. Madame Blanc.
Don't know it.
Not even heard of it.
British mystery series that takes place in France. And a British couple lives in France, and the husband dies, and the wife finds out that he's like practically in bankruptcy. I don't remember where it was made, but let me see. Madame Blanc.
I don't even recognize the title of it.
No.
The Madame Blanc Mysteries from 2021, so it's new.
Oh dear.
Antique expert moves to France, suspicious of how her husband died, and uses her skills to become a PI, aiding the local police and simultaneously bonding with the town's popular taxi driver. And it's all in English. There's no dubbing or anything.
So they're all walking about going, listen very carefully, I should say this in advance.
Robin Asquith is in it. Sally Lindsay.
Oh, well, if Robin Asquith's in it, may actually have some...
Then I tried watching Harry Wild. Jane Seymour didn't like it.
Is Robin Asquith, is he the driver instructor, or is he the window cleaner?
I was going to say, if Robin Asquith in it, there'll certainly be some confessions.
Yeah, I think he's a window cleaner. He's the one that actually... Hello?
Yeah, he's.
I'm assuming you know who Robin Atkinson is.
I
as
know
in-
that the name rings a bell, but it just I can't.
Well, they did a load of movies in the 70s. The Confessions of a Window Cleaner,
Lester's
Confessions of a
House,
Rock Star.
Confessions of a Window Cleaner.
Yeah,
That's
Robin
a driving
Atkinson.
truck
Basically,
there.
a lot of carry-on humor, shall we say?
So-
But with
so-
a bit.
I knew the name rang a bell, and he was also in Benidorm,
Sorry,
Yes.
I preferred the Rosie Dixon books myself, but
which I haven't seen. You know, one of my very favorite British shows that I cannot find on the high seas is Doctor in the House.
Mm.
I loved that show.
I've no actually looked for it, but do you know what I've got? And
I think some of the episodes might be on YouTube. I thought it was hilarious.
I just downloaded it there. I've got the one that was recommended right at the very, 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 very beginning. Action autofocus. The one about Bob Crane's.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
I heard about that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen it at some of the sites that I go to. So yeah, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, I'm going to have a look at that one. So,
I mean, Shakespeare and Hathaway, I've seen a couple of episodes of, and they've started showing that on real TV here in the States.
what's the one you were? I think someone recommended to me. Apparently, it's been captured after season 1 or something. Something like
Which
that.
one?
Was.
in all fairness, that could be a lot of things nowadays.
No, it was something like it was a two-for murder mystery couple. The names were, I don't think it was Shakespeare and Hathaway. It was
Okay.
Remington Steele.
No.
Well,
It's a modernish one, but the names of the two characters are names from genre. So it would have been, I can't.
Tuppence. I don't know. The only one I can think of, Shakespeare and Hathaway.
Yeah, but no, I saw because someone had mentioned. I'm not going around to watching it, but I saw that it was on the list of things from Netflix or whatever that have been cancelled after one season.
Oh, because I know that. Oh God, what's the name of those two women who play gardeners and they solve mysteries? Rosemary and Thyme. I've seen all of that.
Yeah. No, I think this was quite a relatively modern one. Because is it Shakespeare and Hathaway? No, I think Shakespeare and Hathaway is when it's at one of their bookshop.
Yeah. No.
No.
No, it's not a bookshop. He's already a private detective, and she hires him and then ends up working with him.
Sort of a Scarecrow and Mrs. King.
That's not new at all.
I know, but that's basically fun.
Oh, I remember that show.
We're going to actually finish up in 5
otherwise
minutes.
Otherwise known as Charlie's Angels on Babylon 5. With Tron.
Yeah. So, anybody up to anything? Any streams are on this week?
Not particularly, no.
Julie?
No, just tomorrow, the B movie show.
Yeah, we need to
I don't
remember
do
that
anything
one. What's the
during the
movie?
week except, be in
What's the
chat.
movie for tomorrow?
I don't remember what the movie is tomorrow.
Fourth Dimensional Man or something.
That's it. 4D Man or something like that. This guy walks through walls.
That's right. I saw the clip for it last week at the end of last week. See, what normally happens is I've got stuff to do. So
Right.
I have these on, so I'm not even actually in the chat. I'm just sitting watching it. That's what I was doing last week. Watched the whole thing. And it was only at the very end I just put in the chat, but I had watched the whole thing. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, some of them are entertaining, and
Yes,
as we've all said, a million times.
Yeah,
the worse the movie, the more fun we have.
The Renfield character, where they just kept talking about the butterflies and bugs.
Yeah,
and,
Windology just confirmed it's 4D Man.
Yeah, good. But that last week's was good. I just thought the Renfield character was spot on, and the McDowell, he just nailed the whole thing.
Yeah.
The rest of it was mediocre, but those two, I think, being in any movie about that genre, just him, he just looked big, posing, and then he would catch all the bugs and eat them while he was talking. He would mention them, basically the exact species and stuff like that, and then I just thought he actually held it as well. The rest of them were just overacting, and some of them were obviously having fun with their overacting. But I'm looking forward to 4D Man. That should be fun as well.
And the chat's always stellar.
Yeah. And do you know what it reminded me of when I saw the clip of it, the trailer? The man with the X-ray vision. Remember that one? It basically the guy with the X-ray eyes.
Is that the guy where he ends up blinding himself?
Aye, basically, if the eyes deceive you, he putting them out and he pulls them out.
Oh,
Yeah.
He basically, he starts off, he basically sees them with
Lockwood and Co. Lockwood and Co. When I was thinking of.
Oh, there you
Sorry,
go.
that no, I just put that. I'm sure someone would suggest to me, but
yuck. I'll have to check that movie out. The French are humorless, but they do make some good movies.
Yeah.
And the French are humorless. Asterix.
True.
that was
but they're
Belgian.
They're Belgian.
I suppose so. Aye.
That is one of the 10 famous Belgians you can name. Now name me 2 that aren't fictional.
King Philippe.
And
Queen Mathilde?
Antoine, he's from Belgium.
Hercule Poirot is fictional.
Yeah, I was going to say
Dan.
he's Dutch,
Yeah.
isn't he? Was he Belgian?
No, he's man from Brussels.
No,
Okay.
Poirot's
Hercule
from
Poirot is
Belgium.
Belgian.
He's Belgian.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
one.
Jacques
Yeah,
Tati was
the other one that comes to mind, if I
He
can
was
remember
French.
it, is the
I think it was French.
King Leopold, who had who ran the Belgian Congo as his own private fief, and well,
Jacques Tati was French.
There you go. I think they're actually talking about other stuff like because Ray Milan's mentioned that Jack Tati is.
yeah,
So-
I think Ray Milan was Ray Milan in Man with X-Ray Eyes, possibly.
It could have been but that to me was another good one as well. But I'm looking forward to that one because I have not seen that one, the 4D Man. I have not seen it at all, and I've seen a lot of the old classic horror genre type ones, and I haven't seen that one, so I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to finish up there because it's coming up for 11 o'clock, and I'm up early tomorrow because it's Father's Day. We've got people coming around, and I want to go out to
Well,
deck them.
enjoy your Father's Day, everybody.
Yeah, I've already got my card, so
I don't know what they're doing in the UK, but here in the States and possibly in Canada, which it just annoys me. I guess there were some people who don't have mothers who were triggered at getting emails about Mother's Day. So now they are sending emails asking me if I want to opt out of Father's Day. And it's not just me, it's everybody. And I'm like, my father died 2 years ago, but I'm not triggered.
I know, absolutely
My
not.
father died
My dad passed in that basically.
19 years ago.
Aye.
I
But
think
it's, the big problem with a lot of this is basically there's the old joke, walking down the street and somebody shouts, "Daddy," you hide up a close because you're a bad boy when you were young. You can never tell. Father's Day, to me, Mother's Day's one thing, but Father's Day, even my dad just didn't give a toss about it. I don't really care about it. Mother's Day is different because it was my mum.
What I find interesting is that Father's Day is the same both sides of the pond, but Mother's Day isn't.
I think Mother's Day in the UK started out as Mothering Sunday, which was church related.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Whereas
Yes.
Mother's
Yeah, it was Mothering
Day
Sunday. I
is
remember
different,
that.
and you guys just merged the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. So we'll finish up there.
Yeah.
So join us all next week for another episode 90 of Let's Talk Geeky next Saturday.
I'm going to be late.
That's how many we've done. 90 next week. So
Yay us.
yeah, us. 90 is how I feel, but that's a different thing. So
I'm going to
thank
be
you
late
one
next
and all.
week, so.
Everybody tomorrow have a great Father's Day.
Yes,
or
happy
just
Father's
have a
Day to
great
all our
day.
dads and our children of dads.
Yeah, or just have a great day.
That too.
And until next week, remember, boys and girls, lads and lasses, we're not old. We're classic. All of us. So, good night.
Hasta la
Night,
vista,
folks.
babies.